Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto x Yandere Rias part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Were you finally all done moving in? Naruto looked at his new room proudly as he wiped a bit of sweat from his forehead. Taking a seat on his bed, he thought all about the events that transpired before he arrived in this new world as he looked over a strange device that he picked up off of his new table. Flashback. He had been banished after all of his hard work had been for nothing, saving the village from Gaara, finding Tsune to become the next Hokage. Then it all got thrown for a loop when Sasuke decided to abandon the village in exchange for the power that Orochimaru offered, just so he could beat his elder brother that killed his entire clan except him. Sakura had begged him to bring Sasuke back, and like an idiot he did just that and brought Sasuke back. He carried Sasuke into the village where he was assaulted by Sakura, who hurt him all because Sasuke had a few bruises, whereas he had taken a Chidori through the chest. Being a man, he didn't retaliate and just walked away as Sakura and the others threw words of insult his way. As he was on his way back to his apartment, Anbu suddenly appeared in front of him and whisked him away to the council room without even so much as a word as to why he there. Once in the council room, they had a huge argument about why he should be killed, but it mostly just amounted to it hurting their precious Uchiha and him being some kind of devil spawn that would rip out their jugulars when they were asleep. In the end, he was given a banishment order that was also signed by the Fire Daimyo due to him being too dangerous and hazardous to the village's overall welfare. He was given until later tonight to get whatever he wanted and to get out of the village and never return unless they called for him like a dog. As he went back to his home, news must have traveled fast as shops all over the village were closed and villagers were out celebrating his banishment. Stepping into his house, he grabbed some old bandages and wrapped a few wounds that haven't healed yet, and lifting a hidden floorboard in the room, he took out some kind of strange device. The device itself was some sort of unknown contraption that had a strange gem in the center of it, but for the most part it was mostly white. He found it in his apartment one day. It came with a small note from a mysterious person. "This was a gift from your mother. I am sorry for not giving it to you earlier, but this device also came with a letter. I hope that you can understand what it means, and once again I'm sorry for not giving it to you sooner." And a letter was from his mother. This is what it said. "Dear Naruto. You may not know me, but I am your mother Kushina Uzumaki. There are so many things that I wish I could say to you, my child, but if you are reading this letter then it means the worst and that I have passed away due to some unknown circumstance. I hope that you will never have to read this letter, but this is just in case. I have to tell you about our clan in case no one ever does. And to a certain extent you are from the Uzumaki clan. This clan was known for its healing jutsus, which made us feared during the Second Shinobi World War, but due to other powers that feared our power, we were all wiped out except for me, because I was in Konoha at that time, and the knowledge of our sealing arts were also lost. The device that is included with this note is a device that was said to have belonged to a human who could transform into a being of light with powers that any military in our world would have given their entire family trees to own. It was called an evil thruster. This device was passed down from my father's father to him, so I leave it in your care and I hope that you will use it to protect the innocent and those close to you, and if you cannot then get stronger for those that you want to protect. So long as you have the courage to say that it is the right thing to do, then know that you will always have my support. And last but not least, I hope that you can forgive me and your father for not being there for you. I know that you must hate us for not being there, but know that your father and I do love you, no matter the choices that you make in life. Love. Kushina Uzumaki." Naruto had tears in his eyes as he read the letter, after being told so many times that he was not loved, abandoned for being a monster, or that his parents were just a bunch of deadbeats that never wanted a child. He was loved by his mother. He didn't care if she was some deadbeat. The letter proves that she loved him and would always be watching over him. It's just that she wasn't here watching him. No, she was watching over him in heaven, and she loved him, but hated herself for not being here for him. Picking up the evil thruster, he always felt warm whenever he held it in his hands, but now was not the time to be thinking about it. Grabbing a backpack, he stuffed whatever he need, be it food, clothes or tools. He made sure that he took his mother's memento as he left the village, not caring about the people that laughed or sneered at him as he walked out. "I'm not being banished by the village. I am leaving the village to find my goals in life outside. This is my choice in life, and I will walk it all the way to the very end." After being banished, he went around the elemental nations doing a little bit of mercenary work or just a few odd jobs here and there. While he working at a bread shop, he heard a rumor that there was a cave that was said to be a sort of tunnel to a place where shinobis could not use chakra. And that for hundreds of years people who wanted to live peacefully used it to escape the nightmare that they were in. At this time Naruto had officially given up on any mercenary work due to all the killings that he had seen and caused, so he quit his job and took the tunnel. Walking through the tunnel he could feel himself grow weaker with each step that he took. When he finally made it to the other side he saw that it was sunny with trees, but his vision was beginning to blur. Stumbling into an area with people he suddenly felt faint and fell to the ground unconscious as yelling could be faintly heard. When he woke up he found himself in a hospital of sorts, where there were very nice people who asked him a few questions. It was mostly his name, place of birth and so on so forth. When all the administrative stuff was done, he was given a chance to go to the restroom. It was here that he saw that he had apparently grown somewhat shorter, or to be exact, he had become younger. As he was flipping out inside of the restroom a knock was heard on the bathroom door. "Excuse me, but are you alright?" Naruto answered yes as he calmed himself. And when he came out he saw a nice lady sitting by his bed. She introduced herself as Yuma. She was from an orphanage nearby and they were taking Naruto there to stay since according to them he didn't have any parents or living relatives. But a few days before he left the hospital had apparently sent his information over to the government, who also didn't have any information on Naruto, so they made an identity for him. He was now officially known as Naruto Uzumaki in this world. While staying at the orphanage he found that it was much better than when he used to live at the one in Konoha. The kids there were generally helpful and nice. There were a few troublemakers that emerged once in a while, but the staff would always reprimand them whenever they did something wrong. While staying at the orphanage Naruto made many friends and they had many adventures together. Until the day came for adoption. A very nice couple saw Naruto and decided to adopt him. For Naruto it was a teary separation as he made many friends in the orphanage and he didn't want to leave them, so he promised them that he would visit whenever he had the time. Naruto's adoptive parents, Jin and Sophia Kazama, showed him their home and it took them a while to get close to Naruto, but he eventually started calling them Ka-san and Tu-san. Finally, when he did that his parents were so happy that they all went out to eat that day. They lived in that small town for a while before Naruto's dad got a promotion and they had to move into the bigger cities for him to be closer to the main headquarters. Naruto cried a little that day, but his mother and father promised that they could come and visit during the holidays. Then flashback. So now it brings us here to Naruto in his new room, and honestly if he could make it a point he was much happier here than he ever was in the elemental nations. "Naruto, it's dinner time. Come on down. If you're not done moving your stuff then you can continue later on." Naruto looked up and saw the time. "Oh wow, it's been that long already, huh? Alright, I'll be down soon." Naruto called back as he placed the evil thruster by his bedside where there was a photo of his friends back in the old town where they used to live in and went downstairs for dinner. Time skip. Months have passed since the Kazama family moved into their new home. For Naruto he went to a nearby junior high school for a while to finish up his final year of junior high, and as he went through his final year, he also had a part-time job at a bread shop cafe, which was visited by girls from an all-girls school called Kuo Academy. Now he wasn't a pervert, okay, he was a slight pervert with a stash hidden somewhere in his room like most teenage boys he knew in school, but at least he didn't take the job just cause of the girls. The shop called oddly enough, the cafe paid really well for bakers, and it just so happens that Naruto used to work as a baker's apprentice back in the elemental nations when he was in the odd jobs phase of his life, so he managed to pick up some skills from that baker, and it helped him here. Occasionally he would also work up front as a server or cashier when the baking was done. While working up front he always noticed that a black-haired girl with a big bust was always around whenever he was around. According to the girls that visited the cafe she was Akeno Himejima, the second most beautiful girl at the school, and Naruto had to admit she certainly did stand out with her long black hair that almost reached the ground and big bust, but he was in his final year of junior high while she was in her second year of high school and they had never even exchanged a word of dialogue, so maybe it was just a coincidence that she was here whenever he worked up front. Yeah, that had to be it, thought Naruto as he delivered coffee and buns to Akeno's table before getting behind the register. As Naruto was clocking out for the end of his shift, he saw Akeno waiting on the outside of the cafe. I was wondering if you were the one who made the buns." Naruto saw that Akeno was holding her skirt in a way that made his heart stop while also holding a bag of buns. "Well yeah, I guess I did," Naruto replied as he tried to keep his blush and thoughts under control. "They are really good and they always keep me coming back for more." Naruto thanked her for the compliment and went back home while Akeno returned to the academy. "With Akeno. President, I'm back." Akeno chirped as she closed the door to the club room to see a girl with a slightly smaller bust playing chess all by herself. "Ah, Akeno, you're back, so did you bring back more of those buns from that cafe?" Akeno nodded and placed the bag in front of the red-haired girl. "And what about the boy, does he still have that power that you talked about?" "Yes, President, this power that he has is truly a mystery. It is not of devil, fallen angel or even angel origin. It is truly a mystery. Are you planning to recruit him, President?" The red-haired girl shrugged her shoulders as she picked up a bun. I am not sure yet, but we should keep a watch on him nonetheless. A power like that could be useful to us." The red-haired girl looked over to Akeno, who had a dazed look in her eyes. And if her look says anything, then this boy is also quite the looker. She took a bite of the bun, and a great baker as well. Time skip. It had been a few months since Naruto graduated from his junior high with some pretty good marks. With his grades he was able to enter quite a few good high schools, but he heard the Kuo Academy, which had previously been an all-girls school, just decided to turn into a co-ed school, all of a sudden deciding to send an application, and he was easily accepted into the academy with the grades that he had. This was also where his parents started acting fairly weird, especially his dad. He was always looking for time to have the talk with him, but luckily for him, he always managed to weasel his way out of those. It still didn't stop the checks for his stash from his mother. Thankfully his hiding skills always came out on top of things, and she was still clueless as to where he hid his stuff. He loved his adoptive parents, but he needed his own personal space sometimes. Anyway, back to Naruto. He was a first-year student at Kuo Academy, dressed in the standard academy attire, a black undershirt and an average pair of shoes. Currently he was friends with one Shinji and Kaiba, or just Kai for short, since no one really called him Kaiba, and Kai didn't seem to care about it much, so everything was alright. Naruto still worked at the cafe, and every once in a while, he would have a little chat with Akeno whenever she came by to have something to eat, and on his days off he, Shinji and Kai went down to one of the arcades in the city. Which was where they were now. "So Naruto, you planning to pick up the new Fallout next week?" Shinji asked as he performed a combo that sent Naruto's character flying backwards. "Of course, I'd never miss out on a chance to play one," Naruto replied as he punched the sky, signifying his win. "What about you, Kai?" Naruto looked over to Kai, who had a headset around his neck. "My RPGs aren't my thing." Naruto laughed as Shinji pulled out a picture of an anime girl and did a poor imitation of her voice. "Of course not, Kai-kun would never betray us, ne Kai-kun." Kai quickly tore the picture out of Shinji's hand and cuddled it. "Idiot. Don't worry, Mira-chan, that brute won't harm you anymore." Kai really does love his visual novels, doesn't he?" Naruto asked as he checked his watch and jumped out of his seat. "Oh man, it's already this late. I got to go, homework and all that, you know, right?" Kai and Shinji nodded as Naruto picked up his bag and waved goodbye to them, since they wanted to play a couple more games before heading home. With Naruto. As he walked home, he opened his wallet to check how much he had. "Oh man, going to the arcade so many times a week really does clean someone out. I probably should cut back on going there so many times a week, but then again, hanging out with Kai and Shinji are definitely worth it." Naruto laughed at all the fun times that they had together when suddenly he heard a name call out to him. Wait, please." Turning around, Naruto saw a young girl that was probably around his age. She was wearing a school uniform that consisted of a dark red jacket with a letter P embroidered in gold, a white undershirt, a red bow and a green skirt with a thin white strip around the lower end of it. "Wow, she certainly is cute," thought Naruto as a blush came across his face. Are you Naruto Uzumaki of Kuo Academy?" Naruto dumbly nodded as she heaved a sigh of relief. "Can I help you with something?" The girl began to finger her skirt before finally squeaking out, "Are you seeing anyone at the moment, Uzumaki-kun?" Naruto shook his head, which made the girl heave another sigh of relief. "That's a relief. I was wondering if you would go out with me?" she asked as a blush came across her face. Naruto had to pinch himself for a moment to make sure that he wasn't in a dream, and when it hurt he himself blushed. "I've always seen you working at the cafe, but I've never had the courage to talk to you until now, so will you be my boyfriend?" Naruto was taken aback by what she said and was stunned. He unconsciously scratched his whisker marks before he began to babble. Well, I don't know what to say, but I think that we should get to know each other before going any further. Would that be alright with you?" Naruto prayed that his response didn't send the girl running away in tears, but she smiled and nodded. So Naruto decided to take a detour from his way home and walk the girl home. As they walked to her home, Naruto was told the girl's name, Yuma Amano, which he thought to be a great name, and they exchanged simple small talk which ranged from dislikes to hobbies, and so on so forth. He even got permission from her to call her Yuma-chan, provided she could call him Naruto-kun. When he finally reached home and told his parents what happened, his father once again tried to have the talk with him over dinner, but he quickly finished it, rushed upstairs to the bathroom, had a shower, and rushed to his room where he spent a few hours doing homework and sending messages to Yuma before turning in for bed. The next day he woke up and met Yuma on the way to school. There he introduced her to Kai and Shinji. Both of their reactions were priceless, but they gave Naruto and Yuma their blessings nonetheless. As Naruto waved goodbye to Yuma, he felt a pair of eyes watching him. Turning to one of the clubhouses, he thought for a second that he could have sworn that he saw a hint of red. Maybe Shinji or Kai know something, Naruto thought as he went to class. "Hey Shinji, Kai, do you guys know of any student in the academy that have red hair, or to be more specific, bright red hair?" Shinji and Kai put their hands on their chins as they thought about it. Well, I have heard that one of our senpais in the third year has red hair and a great body, but nothing more. Shinji replied as he took out his notebook. You're really asking the wrong people, Naruto. If it's information on girls you're looking for, then you should go find either Issei, Mitsuda or Motohama senpai. Rumors from girls around the school say that they're the biggest perverts the world has ever seen. If you're looking for information on girls, then they're the ones that you should be talking to. Naruto raised an eyebrow at what Kai just said. You were eavesdropping on girls. Kai shrugged his shoulders. Well, technically I was playing on my phone when the girls that were talking about it walked by. Naruto nodded understandingly as the teacher walked in and their class began. During lunch, Naruto wandered around the school looking for the three boys that Kai mentioned. Now if I was the biggest pervert the world has ever seen, where would I be hiding? Suddenly yells of screams came from the direction of the girls' kendo clubroom. Should have guessed. Naruto headed in the direction of the scream to find his senpai lying on the ground. Senpai, are you alright? Naruto asked as he helped his senpai up. Ugh, yeah, I'm alright, thanks for helping me. I'm Issei Haidu. Issei turned to Naruto. Sorry, but who are you? Oh, I'm Naruto Uzumaki from the first year and I was hoping to ask you something. Issei gave him the thumbs up. Sure, but let me find my friends first. He replied as he began to nurse his bruises. Few minutes later, Issei, Mitsudo, Motohama and Naruto were crouched outside of the Occult Research Club's clubhouse. So you guys decided to bail on me, huh? If it wasn't for Naruto here I probably would have taken longer to find you guys. Now let's listen to our junior's question. Issei reached over and patted Naruto on the shoulder. Well, I was just wondering if there was anyone at the academy that had bright red hair. Naruto looked up the side of the same red hair catching his eyes. Mitsudo, Issei and Motohama looked in the direction that Naruto was looking and a gleam came across Motohama's glasses as he pushed them up. Well, it seems like our junior has found the girl he's been looking for. Rias Gremory minus 99 centimeters 58 centimeters 90 centimeters. She's the Occult Research Club, ORC for short, since I don't like typing it all the time. And word has it that she was from Northern Europe. As soon as Motohama finished some of her basic information, Rias turned away from the window and proceeded into the clubhouse. So does that answer your question, Naruto? Naruto nodded and stood up, brushed his pants leg, but before he left he heard Issei call out to him, "Hey Naruto, you're an alright kid. If you've got time on your hands, then you can spend it with us, alright? I'll be sure to keep that in mind, senpai." Naruto replied as he went back to the main school building for a quick bite before the bell rang and they had to get to class. After school, Naruto said goodbye to both Shinji and Kai as he headed off towards the cafe. There he found Yuma seated down at one of the tables. She waved him over. "Over here, Naruto-kun." Naruto went over and took a quick seat. "Sorry Yuma-chan, but I have work today so I can't stay long." "Don't worry Naruto-kun, I can wait, I brought my homework." Naruto nodded understandingly as he left to get to the kitchen to begin his shift. After preparing more buns he came outside to do other duties like the register or grabbing buns for the people who wanted them to go, and just like always, Akeno arrived and ordered some buns to go, but this time she brought a girl that Naruto recognized as Kaneko, another first-year student. "Hello Akeno-san, your buns." Naruto handed over the bag of buns as Akeno handed over the same amount of money she always gave with a smile. "Thank you Naruto-kun." But before they left Kaneko bowed to him. "Thank you for making such good buns," she replied in a monotonous voice before leaving with Akeno. After Naruto's shift was over, he was taken to the back by his boss and given his paycheck with a little bit extra for you and your girlfriend. Naruto blushed and tried to deny it, but his boss wasn't having any of it and teased him about it. As Naruto and Yuma were walking back, Naruto decided to take the first move and invited her over for dinner. Once inside the house he introduced Yuma to his parents, who began to ask quite a few questions about her and what they did, but at least nothing embarrassing about him was spoken. So after dinner Naruto walked Yuma home and at her doorstep, she gave Naruto a kiss on his cheeks, making both of them blush. Time skip. Weeks had gone by since Naruto met Yuma, and today was the day that they were going to officially have their first date as a couple. So Naruto was dressed in a black jacket with a grey undershirt, blue jeans and an average pair of sneakers, while waiting for Yuma. Lady with brown hair came by and gave him some sort of flyer that had a weird drawing on it, and at the very top of the flyer was the words, "Your wish will be granted." Well, I wish that I had this back in the elemental nations, but now that I'm here I don't need it cause most of my wishes have been granted. Naruto moved over to the trash can to throw it away, but thought, nah, maybe Shinji or Kai could use it as a joke item. And he proceeded to put it into his pocket as Yuma called out to him so that they could begin their date. Sorry, I'm late Naruto-kun." Naruto simply waved it off. "Don't worry Yuma-chan, you're not late, I'm just early." Both of them got a little chuckle out of that as they went on their way. Insert Sayaka na Yasatoko Dezu from the HighSchool DxD Ost here. Walking through the streets, Yuma spotted a t-shirt store and dragged Naruto there to try out a few of the shirts. Looking around, Yuma grabbed one that had a flame design at the bottom of it, and they were rising towards him. Naruto began to wave himself like he was hot to go along with it. The next shirt she pulled up had 5 bullet holes where the heart should be. Naruto grabbed his heart in pain when she pulled that one out. Both of them laughed at Naruto's performance, which was alright. After trying a few more shirts, they left men's department since nothing caught his attention. They made their way towards the women's department where Naruto spotted some simple jewelry and called her over to check it out. They left that store a while later, a simple locket that held a picture that both of them took a while back in a photo booth down by the arcade. They made their way towards the cafe, which was full of young lovers. The boss spotted Naruto step in with Yuma. He led both of them to a special table near the front of the shop. Giving them a menu, he left them alone for a moment before returning a moment later. "So are you ready to order?" Both of them placed their order and a few minutes later their orders came out. Naruto had an autumn breeze, which was basically a really well done orange smoothie, while Yuma had a 10 fruit parfait. She loved the taste of it and gave a little bit of it to Naruto. And song. But the food out of the way, both of them made their way towards the town fountain. Walking towards the fountain, Naruto suddenly felt someone holding his hand. Turning to Yuma, he saw that she was looking down with a sad look on her face. "Oh look, it's the fountain." Yuma ran forward and gave a little twirl. Naruto could see the sunlight reflect off of the surface of the locket. Yuma suddenly came towards Naruto and wrapped her hands around Naruto. "Yuma-chan, is everything alright?" he asked as light sobbing could be heard from Yuma. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun." Naruto suddenly felt a sharp pain in his heart. He could see wings, or more specifically black wings, come out of Yuma's back, and she was holding some sort of spear in her hands. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, I truly am. I just wish that we could have met under other conditions." With a pull, Yuma pulled out the spear, and Naruto fell backwards into a puddle of his own blood, spitting it up as well, while Yuma teleported away, a line of tears going down her face. "So this is how I'm going to die, huh? In a puddle of my own blood. This one time I wish the Kyuubi could heal me. I have so much that I still haven't done yet." But why was Yuma-chan crying? Naruto raised his hand and saw that it was red, just like her hair. Rias-senpai's hair is the same shade of red. Naruto thought about her hair and how similar it was to the blood on his hand now. Save me, someone, anyone please." The flyer in Naruto's pocket flew out and a red flash appeared to the side of Naruto. "You're the one who summoned me, right, Naruto-kun?" the figure asked. "Who are you and how do you know me?" Naruto choked out as he coughed up another glob of blood. "That is of no purpose at the moment. For now, live for my sake." With that said, a white light filled Naruto's vision as he felt the last bit of his life fade. The next day. Naruto opened his eyes to find himself in his bed. "Oh man, that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. I dreamed that Yuma-chan killed me. I'm sure that it doesn't mean anything." Naruto got off his bed and checked the time. "Oh man, it's this late already. I'm going to be late for school." Scrambling around his room to get all of his stuff together, he accidentally kicked his bedside table, knocking the evil thruster into his bag. "At school? What do you mean you've never heard of Yuma-chan?" asked Naruto as he held his hands open. "Well, the way you described this girl, she must have been really pretty, and we probably wouldn't have forgotten such a thing, even if we're not into that kind of girl." Kai answered as he took a bite of his sandwich while Shinji elbowed him. "Hey, that's you. I'm into 3D girls if you don't mind." But that's impossible. I have her phone number and text messages right here." Naruto checked through his cell phone but found nothing. "It's gone. They're all gone. That's impossible." Shinji came by and placed his arm on Naruto's shoulder. "Hey, don't worry about it, Naruto." Shinji could see the depressed look on Naruto's face. "Hey, don't worry about it, Naruto. How's about you guys come by my place for some amnesia? It's been a while since we've played that and screamed together. So how's about it, huh?" Naruto reluctantly agreed to it when he felt someone looking down at him. Looking up, Naruto saw Rias by the staircase, and in the hallway behind her, he could hear squeals from the girls about her. Rias walked down the stairs, and as she walked by Naruto, he could have sworn that a smirk came across her face. What does this mean? Later that day. Naruto, Kai and Shinji were at Shinji's house, the blinds closed and the volume turned up as loud as they could. "Hey guys, could we turn the lights down? It's still kinda bright and it's ruining the mood," whispered Naruto as he rubbed his eyes. "Hey, are you nuts, Naruto? This is already as dark as we can go," Shinji whispered back. "Are you sure you're feeling alright, Naruto?" I don't know guys, maybe I'm just not feeling it today." Naruto picked up his bag. "I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm going to go home and grab some sleep." Alright then, Naruto, get a good night's sleep and we'll see you tomorrow," Shinji replied with concern, while Kai also waved goodbye to Naruto. But Naruto. When he left Shinji's house, he felt much better. "Oh man, the sun is setting already, huh?" He didn't feel like going home anymore. "That's weird. I feel stronger and I'm seeing things better than I ever have." Naruto flexed his hands and turned them over, nothing was different himself, thinking that it was just some excess energy he decided to walk it off by going about town, as he aimlessly walked about town. Walking about town he found himself at the fountain. Yuma-chan, why were you crying? And just what am I now? Naruto fell to his knees and cried, all I wanted was to live a normal life, but now all of this has happened, what is going on? Naruto screamed it to the air, but he suddenly felt someone or something behind. Well, this is certainly a surprise, I'd never thought that I would find someone like you in a place like this. Who are you? Asked Naruto as he began to inch backwards. The mysterious man raised his hat, and Naruto could see his eyes glinting with a hint of madness and murder in his eyes. Don't run, for this will make it easier for both of us. Light began to throb inside of Naruto's bag, quickly opening it, he spotted the evil thruster slowly, he drew out the evil thruster from within his bag and looked at it with curiosity, the evil thruster is throbbing. Pull the evil thruster out of its sheath and we shall fight together as Nexus. Naruto hesitated for a moment before he gripped both ends of the evil thruster and pulled both parts apart, making a light appear from the unsheathed part and pointed it up in the air yelling. Nexus. A flash of light surrounded Naruto, and moments later a glowing figure flipped over the man. What are you? The man asked as the light faded. In its place was a black and gunmetal figure that had two glowing eyes, on its chest was a strange shape, and above it was a green gem. The figure turned around and took a look at its hands. Wow, this power, it feels weird, but it makes me feel like I was back in the elemental nations. The figure took a combat stance while the man raised an eyebrow at his actions. What are you? That is of no concern now, if you wish to go down the hard way then so be it. Putting his arm out, he formed a light spear similar to the one that Yuma made, but instead of red his was blue, and threw it with the intent to kill or at least heavily injure. Naruto was about to dodge it, but as it went by he noticed that it was going much slower than he expected. What is going on? Is my reaction time faster? If so, then it would be the perfect opportunity to do this. Dashing past the light spear, Naruto kneed the man in the stomach before bringing his other leg around and kicking the man in the side, sending him flying off into a few bushes. Whoa, just how strong am I? Naruto asked as black wings similar to Yuma's emerged from the bushes and the man soared into the air and landed on top of a tree to look down at Naruto. You dare to make a mockery of me, Donosuke? Just who do you think you are? I'm Naruto Uzumaki Kazama. Ex-shinobi of Konohagakure. Naruto entered his combat stance but shifted it so that he could get a better balance. Well then, Naruto Uzumaki, show me what you have. Donosuke threw his light spear at Naruto, which he simply dodged by flipping backwards to his surprise. It's been quite a while since I've done all these acrobatic tricks, I'm surprised that I can even do them. As soon as Naruto stopped flipping backwards, the light on his chest began to blink red. Naruto looked down at it as he felt his strength fading. What is going on? Why do I feel weaker all of a sudden? Too bad for Naruto. As soon as he turned his attention back to Donosuke, he saw a light spear heading in his direction. He tried to dodge it, but he missed the timing and the spear went through his stomach. Arg. It didn't hurt this much when I got stabbed the other time. Naruto screamed out in pain. He moved to grip the light spear, but found that he could not touch it without burning his hands. It hurts, doesn't it? Light is like a deadly poison to your kind, but I will finish this soon, you needn't worry. Donosuke threw his arm back and the spear was pulled out of Naruto's body. When the spear was back in Donosuke's hand, Naruto de-transformed into his human self with a hole exactly where he got stabbed. Damn it, I can't die. Not a second time. Naruto closed his eyes and waited for the strike to come down on him, but the spear was shot out of Donosuke's hand by something red. Was that your doing? No, I suppose it wasn't. A red flash appeared, making both men turn towards it. You will keep your hands off of him. A female voice demanded. That red hair, it can't be Rias senpai, can it? Mumbled Naruto before he fainted. Who do you think you are, stopping me? Donosuke demanded as he made another light spear appear in his hand and threw it at Rias, but a white-haired girl jumped out of nowhere and deflected it with little effort before rising to stand by her side. As for the light spear, it returned to Donosuke's hand as he flipped out at being denied his target and charged at Rias and the white-haired girl, but bolts of lightning descended from above and exploded right in front of Donosuke, blowing him backwards as a lady with long black hair walked out, lightning crackling in the palm of her hand. She spotted the wounded Naruto on the ground and ran to try and help him. Red hair, so you are from the house of Gremory? That is correct, I am Rias Gremory. How are you, my good fallen angel? Donosuke merely laughed and picked up his hat, dusted his jacket and placed it on his head. Is this boy one of your household? Bring any harm to him and you will get no mercy. Well then, my apologies for what happened today, and based on what happened I would say that you have yourself a very special servant, but you should not let them run loose like that. Someone like me could accidentally hunt him down while taking a walk. Rias waved her hand in appreciation. Thank you for the advice, I will take it into consideration, and for my part, the next time anything like this happens, I will not hesitate to start something. bear that in mind. Rias ended it with a narrowing of her eyes to signify the gravity of the situation. I could say the exact thing to you next, head of the House of Gremory. Warn don't seek before he flight off into a portal that appeared in the sky. Akeno, how is he? Rias asked, concern in her voice. He is heavily wounded using his power, and being hit by the light spear must have done it. Was it wise to have waited for so long before intervening? I'm sorry about that, Akeno, but I wanted to see his power for myself, and I am surprised by his abilities, and don't worry, I won't let him die, for he is mine. The next day. A beeping noise woke up Naruto. He lifted his sheets off of his body to reach out and turn it off. Aw man, another terrible dream about me getting hurt. I got to stop doing whatever the heck it is I do at night. Before hitting the sack, yawn. It feels kinda drafty in here. Did I open a window? Naruto looked down and saw that he was naked. Wow. Naruto quickly covered his delicate bit with his hand as he began to look around for his shorts or his underpants at least. Rummaging through his room, he noticed a shape around the rest of his blanket. That's a weird shape. Maybe my pants could be under there. Naruto lifted the blanket to reveal a very naked Rias Gremory sleeping on his bed. Reeling backwards, he hit his head on his cupboard. Rias-senpai. Naruto's loud scream woke the slumbering Rias, who woke up due to Naruto's yell. She cutely rubbed her eyes and stretched herself, giving Naruto a full view of her body. Naruto quickly reacted by covering his eyes with both hands, but remembered that he was naked, so he placed one hand over his bottom part and his other hand over his eyes as he tried his best not to peek. Rias-senpai, what are you doing in my room and why are we naked? This has to be another dream. I'm afraid not, Naruto-kun. Everything that you have seen and experienced is real. I am Rias Gremory, a devil. The devil. Rias nodded as she laid her head on her arm and propped it on top of her knee. That is right, I am also your master. It's nice to finally meet you, Naruto Uzumaki-kun. And we're done for this chapter, and to be honest, this flowed way more naturally than the original did, and it also allowed me to relive my childhood hero Ultraman, though it is nice to note that Dyna was my first, but Tiga was my favorite, even though I've watched 1/3 of Dyna, yet I've only seen a handful of Tiga episodes, which include the final 2 episodes. If you are sitting there asking yourself who Ultraman is, I don't blame you. Outside of Japan, few people do know who he is. High five to the people who know who he is. But anyway, this story came about as I was listening to some Ultraman Ops songs, and I came across Nexus's, which if you haven't heard, is a kick-ass song without the translation. With the translation, it's a kick-ass song that has meaning behind it, and by a mind-boggling conclusion, I decided to revamp the road to devilhood into this. Naruto, if you don't get down soon then your breakfast is going to get cold. Sophia looked over to Jin, who peeked over his newspaper and just winked at his wife before turning his attention back to it. She decided to wink back and went on up the stairs, calling for Naruto to wake up. Sophia and Jin loved Naruto since the day that they adopted him, and though they had some rough spots in the beginning, it was all water under the bridge, but since he was now in that age range when kids started to do weird things with their time, they just wanted to poke fun at Naruto so that he could hopefully control his urges. I'm coming up to wake you up, Naruto, and if I see you with a dirty magazine, then. Just before Sophia could finish her sentence, she opened the door to Naruto's room to see him standing over Rias, who was naked, while Naruto was missing his pants and shirt as well. Good morning. Rias greeted Sophia, while Naruto's mouth was unnaturally wide, staring at his mother, who had to be thinking all kind of weird things. Oh man, I never wanted my parents to catch me like this. Good morning, please hurry up and get ready for school. Sophia dumbly stated as she closed the door, shook her head and pinched herself, realizing that what she saw was true and that Naruto was indeed naked with an older woman who was a foreigner. Inside of the room, Naruto slid to the ground and continued to dumbly stare at the door when footsteps could be heard shuffling downstairs. Jin. What's wrong, Sophia? Did you catch Naruto doing something funny? Guy told you we shouldn't have done that to him, but no, we just had to do things your way. No, it wasn't that it was an older woman with him, and not just that. I think she was a foreigner. A foreigner and an older woman to boot. Our Naruto has really grown up. Jin received a kick to his face courtesy of Sophia. You don't say that, Jin, I'm too young to be a grandmother. Sophia cried as she continued to kick Jin. Naruto heard all of it pretty clearly, even though the door muffled it. Looking over to Rias, he saw that she was giggling. My life is over, they'll never let this go for the rest of my life, mumbled Naruto as he began to rock back and forth. He reached over to his bedside table to grab the evil thruster, but found that it wasn't there. Shooting up, Naruto began to scramble about his room, intent on finding it. What are you searching for, Naruto-kun? Rias asked as she held the warm white object close to herself. I am searching for my mother's memento. Naruto replied as he ruffled through his bag, tossing stuff out of the way to find it. Oh, is it white and when you hold it close to you it emits a warm feeling? Naruto was shocked by what Rias had said and turned to her. That was when he saw Rias holding the evil thruster close to her, covering his eyes. He reached out his arm. Yeah, that's right, and I think you holding it, senpai. Rias giggled before placing the evil thruster in his hand. I also think that you should cover yourself up cause your everything is showing. Rias folded her legs and acted as though she was actually wearing clothes, don't worry about it, you can look at them if you want to. She stood up and calmly walked over to her clothes which laid by the side nicely folded on top of each other, taking her panties she slipped them on, while dirty fantasies ran through Naruto's mind. So are you feeling alright? This broke Naruto out of his fantasy who looked down and saw that his stomach was healed as opposed to a big gaping hole, though there was a small scar, that was when realization hit him. Then everything that happened was real. He looked down at the evil thruster which began throb. I must say the abilities that you showed off were definitely the most surprising thing I have ever seen, and that is saying something considering what I have seen though your healing is of note as well, even though it was a fatal wound you healed within the night with a little help from my magic. Magic? Naruto sounded surprised that such a thing actually existed, but then again he was a de-aged ninja who used to be able to walk up walls and do other cool stuff, but still magic, it seemed like such a mysterious aspect of this world. Rias nodded as she put her bra on, but just couldn't reach the clip. Naruto, could you help me? Rias asked, moving her hair out of the way to show Naruto the clip. Alright, but first let me get my pants on. Rias nodded, so Naruto opened up his drawer and took out a pair of boxers and put them on before going over to help Rias clip her bra together. Since this was awkward, Naruto decided to talk so as to lessen the feeling. Not to make this feel even more awkward, Rias-senpai, but why were we naked? Well, how did you think I was supposed to transfer energy to you? Dirty thoughts entered Naruto's mind, but they stopped when he felt Ria's hand on his shoulder. Don't worry Naruto-kun, Rias smiled, making Naruto blush, I'm still a virgin. She happily declared, making Naruto let out a breath of sweet relief and faceplant at the same time. Rias-senpai, this is no time to be joking. Though the thought of nothing happening between us is definitely reassuring. Naruto picked himself up before realization hit him. Wait, you said something about being a devil. Was it true? Asked Naruto as Rias came around and ran her hand across his lips. Yes, that is correct Naruto-kun, I am a devil and your master. You won't mind if I call you Naruto-kun, right? Naruto shook his head as both of them proceeded to put on their school uniform before explaining everything to Naruto's parents over breakfast about what happened, and surprisingly, they accepted it as some weird teenage culture that was going on now. And as they ate breakfast, Naruto could even hear Rias mumbling about how she didn't even need to use her magic to charm them into believing her, but Naruto just brushed it off as a weird mumblings. About half an hour later. Both Naruto and Rias walked into school alongside each other, with Naruto holding both of their bags. Rias had a smile on her face, while Naruto tried to look as normal as he could, while both boys and girls had different reactions to both of them walking alongside each other. For the boys, the majority of them were jealous of Naruto for two reasons. One, he was walking alongside Rias, who was the best looking girl in the school, holding her bag as well, and the second reason was because he was a first-year student walking alongside her. As for the girls, they were jealous because he was walking alongside Rias and that both of them had some secret senior-junior relationship that been going on for a while now, and they were now just going to admit it. For most of the third-year and second-year students, they thought that they could get to Naruto's heart first, since most of them visited the cafe during lunch when Naruto worked there as he was finishing his last year of junior high, or when they were in the area with friends and thought that he would be great boyfriend material. As for Naruto, so many things were just going through his head that it was amazing that it didn't just explode. Rias being a devil, the fact that he was able to transform into Nexus, his mind was in a mess that he didn't catch anything that was said by the boys and girls of Kuo Academy. Naruto. This broke Naruto out of his thought to see that Rias was waving her hand in front of his face. Naruto, are you listening to me? Oh yeah, Rias-senpai, what is it? Naruto asked as he embarrassingly rubbed the back of his head. I will be sending someone to get you later on, alright? Rias had her hand out, so Naruto gave her her bag. Wait, later on? What do you mean by that? However, Rias had already excused herself from the conversation so that she could get to her class that was about to begin, while Naruto begrudgingly made his way to his own class, boys and girls staring at him with different feelings. When Naruto reached the class, he was met by Shinji and Kai. Both guys were smiling with the same smile they always had when they were out having fun together. Hey Naruto, what's up? Heard a lot of commotion going down by the school gate. Anything special happened between you and that Rias-senpai that you want to tell us? Nothing special, I just walked to school alongside Rias-senpai and I also held her bag, nothing more nothing less. Naruto stated flatly as he took his seat. Shinji and Kai saw how he was and decided to drop the matter until later when Naruto was in a better mood. After school. So Naruto, you feeling better? If so, then let's talk about this morning and afternoon. Shinji asked as he tossed Naruto a soda and sandwich. Naruto gave a simple smile as he popped open the soda and took a long drink. Ah, that felt good. Listen guys, I'm sorry about how I acted this morning, it's just. I interrupted Naruto due to the noise of him turning his chair around. Don't worry about it, we're buddies, so wanna tell us what happened? Nothing really. I just walked to school with Rias senpai and the students in the upper levels didn't take it so well. Both Shinji and Kai had a good laugh about it when both of them relaxed. Kai came around and placed his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Well, I guess Naruto's all grown up, huh? Sigh, we all are growing up so fast, or maybe he's into older women. Kai. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto demanded as he shifted his arm and held Kai and Anugi, who struggled around in Naruto's strong grip to get out of it. Come on, I dare you to say that again. Say it. Kai just continued to laugh as he fell off of his chair. Ow ha 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 ow ow, stop it, Naruto. As for Shinji, he was already on the ground holding his stomach from laughing, but it all stopped when sighs of cuteness could be heard outside of their class. The door opened to reveal Kaneko standing in all her cuteness. Kaneko-san. Oh man, Naruto isn't just into older women, he's into lawless as well. The tick mark on Naruto's head grew much larger as he clenched his fist in comedic anger. Kaneko looked much younger than she actually was, which led people to call her the school's mascot or something else. What? You freakin' tootie, love or die. I'm no lolickin. Naruto pointed his finger at Shinji to stop whatever he was going to say, and I'm not into older women. Naruto continued the noogie as Kaneko walked towards them. Naruto-san, all three of them calmed down and looked at Kaneko, who just blankly stared at them. Rias senpai sent me to get you. Naruto nodded before letting go of Kai, who dropped to the floor but managed to pick himself up with the help of Shinji. Naruto proceeded to follow Kaneko to the old school building, but not before both Kai and Shinji stifled a laugh but were stopped when Naruto threatened another nagi. Naruto followed Kaneko all the way to the old school building where he met Issei and his friends when he wanted to find Rias senpai's identity. Once there, they opened the door to reveal a boy with blonde hair wearing the uniform of the academy, and he was seated calmly on a sofa that was laid nicely in the room. Shifting his attention away from the teen as he entered the room, Naruto noticed that it was nicely decorated with a certain style that he just couldn't put his hand on, but it made the room look very majestic and beautiful. Ah, you must be the new member that president was talking about. The blonde teen stood up and stuck his hand out. I'm Kibayudo, nice to meet you. Naruto shook the hand and gave his name. Kibayudo, oh, he's the one that all the girls are talking about. So would you like some tea? Offered Kiba. Naruto accepted the offer and took a seat as Kiba pulled out a teacup and poured a cup for Naruto, while Kaneko pulled out a bigger than average bar of chocolate and began to take small bites out of it. As Naruto drank the tea, he heard the soft sound of a shower running. Kiba-senpai, is there a shower here? Kiba nodded his head. Rias Butchu is using it at the moment. Rias-senpai. Dirty thoughts immediately began to invade Naruto's thoughts, but he tried to control them to the best of his ability. Butchu, your clothes are all ready. A familiar voice mentioned as she stepped out from behind the curtain to reveal herself. Akeno-chan. Oh, Naruto-kun, it's nice to see you again, and you're looking so much better as well. She happily acknowledged as Naruto returned the comment, and a few minutes later Rias stepped out of the curtain drying her hair while apologizing to everyone for making all of them wait for her. So Rias-senpai, why am I here? And what exactly did you mean when you said that I was your servant? Ah, straight to the point, huh, Naruto? Alright then, as I've told you before, all of us gathered here today are devils. Naruto looked at everyone with shock before returning his attention to Rias. And the man that attacked you yesterday was a fallen angel. A fallen angel? Rias nodded. Yes, they were once angels that were in the service to God, but due to corrupt emotions they were cast out of heaven, and having nowhere else to go, they descended into the underworld where they attempt to wipe us devils out, while also attempting to manipulate humans into helping them accomplish this task. Over time they have fought for supremacy of the underworld, but as we fight the fallen angels, we are also fighting against the angels that are sent down with orders from Kami to eliminate us in the end, and in the end, it is a three-way standoff. Do you understand everything that has been said so far? Naruto nodded his head in understanding and waited for her to continue, and when I said that you were my servant, that was correct because I resurrected you from death, you have become a servant under me. Naruto clenched his fist in anger when she said that, and he unknowingly leaked a bit of killer intent which they caught. But don't worry, Naruto, just because you're my servant I won't mistreat you in any way or ask you to do duties which are impossible. Naruto relaxed when she said that the term servant reminded him of the way Konoha said that he could not return unless called like a dog. It just left a very bad taste in his mouth. It also helped that Akeno and Kiba explained that Rias treated them very well, in fact they were a family to an extent. Naruto calmed himself down and asked the one question that had been bugging him ever since he saw the black wings from Donoseek, so that means Yuma-chan was real, right? Rias nodded and threw out a photo that was of Naruto and Yuma walking about in the streets. Naruto took the photo and stared at it for a moment as tears welled up in the corner of his eyes. Yes, she was real, and the reason that she went after you was because of the power within you, and if it was dangerous to her or her group, then she was to take you out of the picture permanently. You're wrong. Mumbled Naruto before he stood up and crumpled the photo in his hands. You didn't see what I saw, Yuma, she was crying, and I won't believe what you say. Naruto picked himself and grabbed his bag and walked away. I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to decline the offer. He replied before walking off. Kiba tried to stop him, but Naruto just brushed his arm off. Akeno said girl stood up when called, go after Naruto and try to talk to him. Akeno nodded and followed Naruto. With Naruto. He was sitting along a riverside, the evil thruster in hand and throwing stones into the river. So this is where you are. Turning around, Naruto saw Akeno standing behind him. This surprised him since she managed to sneak up on him without so much as a sound, and this was on the rock-covered surface. May I? Naruto nodded, so Akeno moved and sat next to him. Akeno was about to say something, but Naruto cut her off. I know what you're going to say, but I don't want to hear it. Why, Naruto-kun? If you just let Rias explain herself, then you'll understand where she is coming from. It's because I like Yuma. When I was born my parents died, so I've always been an orphan my entire life. When I was a kid I saw this girl that I liked, and I wanted to do everything that I could to get her attention, even if it meant being hit by her or looking like a fool. But when I met Yuma, it felt totally different than when I had feeling for that other girl. I didn't need to act like an idiot in front of her, and whenever I messed up Yuma she just laughed and thought it was cute, and I realized that the feelings that I had for Yuma were true. You may call me an idiot for saying this, but I just don't want to think about our relationship like that. Even though I'm now a devil and she's a fallen angel, I just can't. Naruto wrapped his arms around his knees and brought them close to himself as he cried. And this whole thing about being a devil is just so weird. I mean, I never wanted this. All I wanted was to live a normal life, but now I've had this forced upon me and I'm just so frustrated. Akeno placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder to comfort him. I understand your feelings, Naruto-kun. Sometimes life throws us things that we can't handle or don't think that we can handle, and we just feel overwhelmed with what has been placed upon us, but because of the people around us, we're able to come to understand what we've been handed, and from there we can handle it and make our choices about what we should do. Naruto looked over to Akeno, who just smiled, and this gave him a moment to think about it. Thank you, Akeno-chan. Naruto dried his tears and hugged Akeno in thanks before both of them made their way back to the school, having the small talk that they always had whenever she visited the cafe. And if he had any problems, then she, Kiba, or even Rias could help him get through it. After all, they were in it together as a group, and to a certain extent they were also family. So Akeno-chan, I've always been wondering one thing, and I hope you don't mind me asking. Akeno looked over to Naruto. What is it, Naruto-kun? Well, I was just wondering if you had a boyfriend. Akeno gave a strange look to Naruto, who started to wave his hand. Oh no, don't get me wrong, I mean you're a beautiful and nice girl, but then I just find it weird that you would be single. Akeno simply giggled before replying, that's alright, Naruto-kun, I don't have a boyfriend, though there is someone that I do like, and I hope that one day I do get to tell him that. Well then, if you do tell him, then I'm sure that he'll accept it, assured Naruto as he walked ahead while Akeno stayed behind and twirled her ponytail with slightly saddened expression on her face. I hope so. Hours later. Naruto was walking along a lonely road with an empty bag by his side. After apologizing to Rias Butchu for his actions, he was given a light punishment, which consisted of a week's worth of delivering the same kind of flyers that he got from the lady by them all the hard way, but he took in stride since he was clearly in the wrong. And besides, if he was ever going to meet another one of the fallen angels, then he would need to get himself into fighting shape, and the best way would be by doing something physical. As for the flyers, they were apparently magical circles that would be able to summon any of the orc to their location to fulfill their wish, but each devil had a limit to the wish that they could grant due to the price of the wish the human wanted granted. Naruto would come to learn more about that after serving his punishment. Time skip a week or so. Naruto had fully served his week of punishment and was now going to receive his first ever assignment as a devil. Well, he could technically say that he was covering for Kiba, cause it was thanks to some counseling from him that Naruto was able to cope with the whole devil situation, so Naruto decided to let Kiba have the night off by taking over his duties. It was a very simple process according to Rias Butchu. He would just do whatever he could do to grant the wish of the summoner and then accept payment after the deed was done, but he could not do a wish that was too far out there, cause even devils had their limits on what they could do, and since this was a returning summoner, Rias was confident that Naruto could handle it, but before he went, Rias wanted to make sure that he was ready in case of anything, cause he couldn't always transform into Nexus to defend himself. So now he was summoning forth his sacred gear, which Rias said that all humans possessed. Naruto, hold out your arm and think of something you feel to be the strongest. Naruto followed her instruction and held out his hand and began to think about it, but all that popped into his mind was his mother's letter and how it said that she would always be watching over him, and a second later a blue orb formed around the top of his hand and on the palm of his hand before a light engulfed his entire hand. When the light faded, a white fingerless gauntlet that had blue orbs on the top and bottom of it formed on his hand. Interesting, a critical bracer that is not a very common sacred gear to appear among humans. Rias remarked, but Naruto had question marks all about his head. The critical bracer is a sacred gear that projects a shield from the orbs on it to protect its user from attacks. Naruto was amazed at and admired it for a moment before asking how he was supposed to make it return, so by simply thinking about it disappearing, he got his normal arm back and he simply had to think of it appearing and it would do so. Alright now Naruto, just go there and fulfill the contract, alright. I bet you I'll do my best. Naruto assured and stepped into the magic circle that would summon him to his summoner and he disappeared in a flash of red light. Hours later. Naruto left his client's house a little happier that he could help someone out when they needed it. He could have teleported back to the clubhouse if he followed what Akeno said about using the seal, but he found that the energy he gained during the night was just amazing and he wanted to burn some of it, so he decided to walk back to the clubhouse instead of teleporting back. But as he was walking back, the sky suddenly turned a different color and he sensed an ominous presence behind him. Who's there? The sound of high heels could be heard approaching him. This presence is similar to Donaseek. Could it be Yuma? No, this presence it's much darker and evil. Slowly the figure walked into the light of a nearby lamppost where Naruto could see that she had long navy blue hair and she was wearing what appeared to be like a trench coat that opened at her chest, giving anyone who saw her front a nice view, along with a miniskirt. This is unusual, very unusual. I don't have you confused with anyone else, yet I was asked to get rid of you. How unusual indeed. From the lady's back big black wings emerged and a light spear appeared in the lady's hand. Oh shit. Naruto jumped out of the way of the light spear that was thrown at him, but he barely made it as the bottom of his jacket was singed. He wanted to transform into Nexus to fight, but the evil thruster dropped out of his jacket when he jumped out of the way of the light spear and skidded a bit down the road, so he concentrated and called forth his critical bracer, which appeared on his arm momentarily after he called it. The fallen angel seemed surprised that the sacred gear appeared on Naruto's arm, but didn't bat an eyebrow at it and just formed another light spear which she used as a spear to charge at Naruto with. Holding his arm out, he thought of a shield on the bracer and just like that a blue shield appeared on it, lucky for him, caused the fallen angel's spear hit the shield, pushing Naruto back. As she was bringing her light spear about for another strike, Naruto made a straight dash to the evil thruster. Quickly picking it up, he pulled it from its sheath, yelling Nexus into the air, and in a flash of light that blinded the fallen angel temporarily, when the light faded he had transformed into Nexus, using one of the walls as support he jumped off of it and punched the fallen angel, sending her tumbling to the ground. So you're the one that Donaseek found and thought was a stray. We thought that the girl killed you, but it seems that we were wrong, and there will be consequences for this. Girl, you mean Yuma-chan? Where is she? And if you lay a finger on her then I'll. Naruto was broken out of his stance by the fallen angel's mention of Yuma, but before he could finish his sentence. You'll do what, boy? Kill me? If you couldn't fight off Donaseek then what hope is there for you to beat me? Making a light spear she grasped it before charging Naruto down with the aid of her wings. As for Naruto, he prepared himself before running at the charging light spear and just before the light spear was in arm's reach, he allowed himself to slide under the lady where she could not strike him. Stopping once she missed her target, she brought her spear around to slash Naruto, who jumped over it and landed behind her before proceeding to deliver a punch to her back. This sent her tumbling to the ground in anger. Grr, damn you, boy. Grabbing her light spear she threw it at Naruto, who just narrowly dodged it, but before she could make another one Naruto tackled her to the ground. Where is she? Where is Yuma and what are you doing to her, tell me? He demanded, his voice laced with anger as he slammed her down onto the ground, once to shake her up and held onto her trench coat, but even with the ground slam the fallen angel just smiled. Wouldn't you like to know, boy? Tell me something, why are you fighting for whoever's house you're under? Naruto was taken aback by her question. Quit being under that devil and join us. Naruto's grip relaxed when he heard that, which was when she took her chance to perform some kind of spell that shot forth ice missiles at him. Jumping off of the lady, he destroyed the ice that got close to him with his fists. When all the ice was destroyed, Naruto retook his stance, mentally cursed himself for falling for her trap, and prepared himself for what was to come next, but the lady had apparently enough or did not want to fight anymore. Stretching open her wings she took off into the air, but Naruto had to talk to Yuma, so he jumped onto a wall and using it as a platform jumped into the air, grabbing her foot as she flew into the air. Let go. She cried out as she tried to kick him off, but Naruto still hung on to what he could, dragging her down much slower than he thought. Flapping her wings she flew to the ground and dragged Naruto behind for a little before she slammed him into a wall in an attempt to shake him off, but he still would not let go. It wasn't until she made a light spear and stabbed it into Naruto's shoulder that he had to let go of her feet due to the pain he felt as she disappeared into a portal. All Naruto could do was curse himself as he fell, but he didn't hit the ground, for Ria's house seal started glowing on the palm of his hand and Akeno was suddenly there to save him. Naruto-kun, shouldn't it be the ladies in this position? If Naruto could blush in Nexus form, he would have promptly done so on the spot. But the simple spell Akeno got both of them back to the clubhouse where Naruto de-transformed and told them what happened minus the part about Yuma and to let Akeno check his wound and heal what she could. I must say for a new devil you've handled yourself very well Naruto, but you've put me in very awkward position now. Naruto turned to her as Akeno healed what she could. What's wrong Rias but you? Rias had her chin placed onto the palm of her hand, since you fought that fallen angel, they now know that you are still alive and of all things you have been resurrected into a devil under my house. Naruto bowed his head in shame, I'm sorry but I should have ran away, but I got too carried away, I will take full responsibility for my actions and accept any punishment you want. But Rias waved it off. Don't worry about it Naruto all of this was just a simple accident, so it couldn't be helped, I just want you to remember to not get carried away by the moment and try to fight them off better devils have tried and some have failed miserably losing their lives in the process, you are under my command Naruto and I will not lose you that way. Naruto nodded his head in understanding before excusing himself for the night leaving Akeno and Rias in the clubhouse. But are you ever going to tell Naruto-kun about him being the special piece? Akeno asked. No Naruto has enough on his mind at the moment he will find out at a later date. Rias had been wondering what was so special about Naruto he had a pretty good healing and then there was his abilities, when she tried to resurrect him his power fluctuated, making it difficult to decide which piece to use. And in the end she ended up using 7 pawns to resurrect him, each one containing a measure of Naruto's power. Reaching to the back Rias pulled out a book and turned it to Akeno to see, the title was Legends and Myths from the Days of the Lost. I have been reading about old legends and myths from the time before our creation and this is what I found. Rias flipped open to a certain page and allowed Akeno to read it clearly. Even among devils, legends speak of the great and legendary race of what could have been called the Archons, they were what could be called the original template for which God wanted to have populated the earth. The remaining records among the devils say that these Archons thought themselves perfect, some even thought of themselves as equal to God or even greater, and so in the end a majority of them rebelled against God. The minority that stayed on God's side and became the very first set on angels, and with their ascension God decided to make an army to fight against the remaining Archons in the form of other angels. One of the pictures at the side showed carvings of human-like figures fighting against winged figures. In the end the uprising was put to rest and the Archons that rebelled against God were banished away from his realm to another realm where God created many giants of immense power that were given the duty of watching over the Archons and whatever they may make so that they may never return to God's realm or their creations could not threaten it, but if they managed to do so then they would lose much of their powers upon entering God's realm. Not much else has been known after these events for all records of the Archons were then sealed away by God. It was only when Lucifer the highest of the remaining Archons that remained on God's side during the uprising fall did the slip of the Archons' existence become known, but even then, nothing can be confirmed for most of the records of these uprising have been lost with time. Pictures by the side showed the Archons being banished and giants of varying design with different crests standing guard. But you don't think that Naruto is one of them do you? Rias sighed and slipped her fingers in between each other. I don't know Akeno there are signs of him possibly being one like his power fluctuations, but these are all assumptions at the moment these Archons are a possible thing of mythology, or they could have actually have existed at one point I may have to ask Nai-san, he may have more clues about this, but unless we have a time machine, then we may never know the truth. But that said Rias returned the book to her bookshelf, turned off the light both of them had a long day, and they would both need the rest. The next day. Naruto was walking alone from school thinking about yesterday's incident, man, I hope that Rias senpai isn't angry about what happened yesterday, sigh something must really be wrong with me last week it was walking out of the meeting, and this week was the fight with that fallen angel, what will next week bring disobeying orders? Oh please no she'll officially hate me by that point. Naruto continued to sigh. Still that fallen angel mentioned Yuma-chan hopefully they're not doing anything to her, but if they are Naruto clenched his fist in anger, but he was broken out of his thoughts by a squealing noise. Turning around he was greeted by a pair of white panties and from the looks of things this lady had fallen over and from the look of things it was because of the heavy luggage that she was lugging about. Going forward to help the lady he caught a glimpse of lady and saw that she had blonde hair which probably meant that she wasn't a native to Japan. Are you alright? Naruto offered his hand to the girls that fell down and she spoke back to him in English which he probably couldn't understand if he was a normal human, but one of the most useful or useless skills of being a devil, depending on your look at it was the power to understand any language and speak it as well who'd have thought. The lady accepted his hand and pulled herself up and dusted herself off. When Naruto helped her up he could see her green eyes, but what got his attention was her attire. She had on a dark teal dress with blue accents, a white veil over her head that had crosses on it, and the most scary object to Naruto was the silver cross necklace that was hanging around her neck. Ah, thank you for helping me, thank the lady. She wanted to thank Naruto, but didn't know his name, which Naruto realized. Oh right, you can call me Naruto, Naruto Uzumaki. With his name known, the girl proceeded to thank Naruto, but before she could, a gust of wind came by and blew her veil off of her head, revealing her blonde hair and sparkling green eyes to Naruto. Wow, she has a pretty set of eyes. Thought Naruto before he pushed the thought out of the way. This girl's laundry was all about the place, and it was no time to be staring at her. Anyways, let me help you here. She nodded, but before they could start, her veil flew away, so Naruto chased after it before he returned it to her. Once the veil was returned to her, she placed it on her head in a way so that it would not fly off so easily. Thank you for helping me, Naruto. Ah, don't mention it. From your appearance, are you perhaps from the church? Well, not exactly. I was assigned here to be a part of the church here, but the girl began to cutely poke her hands together in a way that Naruto felt brought more of the cute look to her. You're lost, aren't you? She lowered her head in embarrassment before giving a small mumble of yes. Well, don't worry, the town really isn't that big, so why don't I help you find where you're looking for? A smile came across the girl's face. Thank you, Naruto, and please call me Asia Argento. She chirped out before moving towards her luggage, but Naruto picked it up for her instead. Now let's go find what you're looking for, Asia. A while later, Naruto and Asia were walking towards the local church, and all the while they made small talk about Asia and how she was traveling all alone in a region that she did not know. This was a really dumb move on the church to send someone who was unfamiliar to the area out here alone. You should tell them that, Asia. I'll be sure to tell them that. However, their talk was broken by the cries of a little boy. Looking over in the direction of the cries, they saw a little boy with a scrap on his knees crying. Asia moved over to the boy, and that was when Naruto noticed a ring on her hand with a green gem on top of it. Don't cry, boys shouldn't cry when they are hurt like that. Of course, the little boy couldn't understand a word of what she was saying since it was all in English, but as Asia was speaking to the little boy, a green glow covered the wound, and right before their eyes the young boy's wound began to heal, until it was like the wound had never been there to begin with. While the boy was amazed at what had happened, Naruto was looking at his hand when the green glow appeared. He felt something resonate within him, but he couldn't place his hand on it, though her power did seem similar to the healing abilities that the Kyuubi granted him. There we go, all done. Asia happily chirped out, her good deed done. The boy stood up for a moment and felt no pain, so he ran around the playground for a bit, dragging Asia along with him, showing her the swings, slides and everything else there. The lady soon came by and picked the little boy up. Mommy, look, the nice lady healed my knee. However, the mother just gave it a disbelieving look as she hurried her child away, but not before she gave Asia a weird look that reminded Naruto of the times whenever the kids back in Konoha were hurried away by their parents so that they did not gain his bad influence. Thank you, Nii-san. The boy yelled out, hoping that Asia could catch it before his mother took him away. However, Asia looked puzzled by what had happened. That boy just told you thanks for healing his wound. A smile came across Asia's face when she realized what the boy had said to her. It was nothing really. God gave me this gift, so he must have wanted me to help people regardless of how they feel about me. Her tone turned sad at the last part, but she felt a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, Asia. Well, that mother didn't understand what her child was talking about. I'm sure that the child will keep on telling her about how you healed his wound. Kids in this area are like that, they always remember the good things that people do for them. Asia had a curious look on her face and wanted to know more. Well, I used to know this person, and he had a power within him that he never wanted, but then everyone around him treated him like the plague because of the power, so all his life he tried his best to be accepted by those people around him, even reducing himself down to acting like a fool. When someone finally accepted him, he thought that the whole city he used to live in would also come to accept him, but it wasn't to be. He was assigned to a work team where one teammate would always hit him over the smallest of thing. His other teammate wasn't much better as he was always looking for power, and then there was his teacher who always preached about never abandoning teammates behind, yet he always left that boy behind. Asia had a very sad look on her face. What happened in the end, Naruto? Well, how should I say this, it had a pretty interesting ending. The person is now living quite happily, and that's about all I can say about that. He embarrassingly replied, since he really couldn't tell someone that the story ended with the person escaping his fate by walking through a tunnel where he turned back into a child and was adopted by a loving family. Asia would have probably thought he was nuts, or his story was a complete fake. What a poor man. I shall ask God to watch over him wherever he may be, and hopefully God will help the man in whatever he may be doing, or perhaps God may even guide this man to the church so that I may help him. Asia knelt down and began to pray for him, but she was interrupted when thunder was heard on this sunny and cloudless day. Oh, is it about to rain, Naruto? Naruto? Asked Asia as she stopped praying for the moment. However, Naruto did not reply, so Asia turned back to him, which was when she saw that Naruto was laying on the ground, his face turned to the side, his eyes had completely turned to giant X, his tongue was sticking out, and his face was a weird color. Ah, Naruto. Are you alright? shrieked Asia as she stopped praying immediately and went to help Naruto. A few minutes and a few bottles of water later. "So are you feeling much better, Naruto?" Naruto nervously nodded his head, though he was still a little blue in the face, but at least he was able to walk, albeit with a little difficulty. "Well, gulp anyways, there's the church," Asia pointed out Naruto. "Ah, thank you for helping me get here, Naruto, but you still don't look quite right, so would you like to come inside of the church for a moment to rest?" Naruto's face slowly began to lose its color once again, so he politely turned down her idea and returned her belongings. "If you're in the area or not feeling good, then please don't hesitate to visit me, alright, Naruto? And I'll do my best to help you." Naruto nodded, and in return he gave her his workplace card. If she ever wanted to talk to someone or needed help, then she could come and find him before the both of them waved goodbye to each other. He just had to leave this area before a bolt of lightning came down upon him or worse. "I'm glad that I was able to meet someone like him, hopefully he'll come and visit me," thought Asia as she began her walk to the church holding the card in her hand, and as she did, a figure by the church with something around her neck saw everything and flew off. The sun was beginning to set as he was walking back home. He thought about his meeting with Asia. Well, she certainly was different. I always imagined that the people from the church were crazy nut jobs who swung sword around killing every single devil in their path just because of who they were, but Asia, she's different than that. Maybe one day we could be better friends. Walking back, he felt his strength increase as the sun went down, and as he was about to open the door to his house when he felt someone watching him, acting like nothing was wrong, he quickly turned behind, but he was too slow to see the figure, only the black feathers that were left behind. Reaching out, he grabbed one, and it felt familiar. Yuma-chan. Dumping his bag at his doorstep, he used his sense of hearing to track down the sound of flapping wings, but alas, he was too slow as the sound soon faded away. "Yuma-chan, that was you, wasn't it? If it was, then don't worry, I'll see you one day." The next night. Naruto was out and about running and doing exercises if he was ever going to be ready for whatever being a devil threw at him, but so far it was hard. He wasn't in the same shape he used to be, and even with the abilities that the night gave him, he wanted to train as Nexus, but couldn't take the risk of someone seeing him transform or turn back to human form. Nonetheless, he still carried the evil thruster just in case he was attacked. He was just taking another drink of water when he heard the sounds of flapping wings. Turning around, he summoned forth his sacred gear, ready to defend himself against any of their attacks, but when he saw who it was, he dropped his stance and his eyes softened. "Yuma-chan." Said girl was holding her arm, looking down. She couldn't look Naruto in the eyes because of what she did to him. Naruto slowly approached her to hold her hand, but she inched away from him. "Yuma, please don't, I just want to talk, please," he pleaded. But she wrenched her hand out of his grip. "Why?" Naruto was taken aback by what she was saying. "Why do you still care even after all I've done to you?" she cried out, dropping to her knees. "Why? You should hate me for what I've done to you, but you still love me." Naruto moved forward and captured her in a hug which she would not accept. Yuma kept struggling against his hold, but it was all stopped by Naruto. "Why do I still care?" "It's because you still care about me, Yuma," said girl, looked up at Naruto with tear-filled eyes. Rubbing away her tears, Naruto moved his hand towards her chest and brought out the locket that they bought on that date. "You still wear the locket and you show regret for what you've done, Yuma. I loved you before all of this and I still love you now. Nothing is ever going to change that, so please don't force me to let go, because I will never let you go, I swear." That was too much for Yuma, who broke into tears and cried into Naruto's shoulder. For Naruto, he had a few tears drop from his eyes. Yuma was the very first girl that he had come to truly love, and he was not going to let her go. Few minutes later. Naruto and Yuma had to go their separate ways, but before they did, Yuma said that they could meet a week later in the park with the fountain. She even gave Naruto her true name of Rainer, and with a kiss, Rainer flew off back to wherever she had to go. A portion of her heart healed of the guilt that she had when she stabbed Naruto, while Naruto went back home, happy that he healed a part of Rainer's heart, and at the same time he was able to see Rainer again. As Naruto entered his house, a team of mysterious men in white biohazard suits were at the place that they met minutes after Naruto and Rainer left the scene. They arrived and began sweeping the area, and from the looks of things they were using scanners to look through the area. "Sir, there is a slight trace of supernatural energy in this area. According to the scanners, it seems that there were two supernatural beings here, but neither of them are the target that we are currently tracking. What do you recommend we do, sir?" His superior officer turned and pushed his glasses up. "We do what we always do, clean up the area and keep a watch out for anything mysterious happening. People have been disappearing in this area, so the creature we're looking for must be around here. We'll just keep an eye out for anything suspicious." Suddenly the officer's phone rang. "Hello, yes sir, what?" "Damn it, I understand, we'll move out immediately." He quickly hung up the phone and began passing out orders to his men. "Alright men, pack it up, we've got another incident in the warehouse district. Let's move it, people. This could be the target. Bag any supernatural energy traces here and we'll analyze it back at HQ. Move it, people." The officer clenched his fist in anger. Damn them causing us all these problems, but this is why we are here to make sure that they can't harm humans. All over the place the people in biohazard suits packed up their stuff and returned to their vehicles and moved towards their new destination, where they found the decapitated remains of a human being. The next day. Naruto was eating breakfast when a news report came on. Today on local news, the remains of a female was found by workers in a warehouse. According to official reports, the woman was apparently killed by some kind of sharp object last night, though officials will not comment any more on the matter until the deceased's identity can be confirmed. The family contacted and an autopsy has been fully performed on the body. But officials do state that all pedestrians should be careful when they are on their way, and if they know anything, then please don't hesitate to call the toll-free hotline. Our condolences go out to the family of the victim. That's weird, could it be? No, it can be. Maybe Rias senpai knows something about this. Thought Naruto as he quickly finished his breakfast before he left for school. Lunchtime. Naruto was walking to the canteen when he was suddenly pulled into a bush by three mysterious people who put a bag over his head. When the bag was removed, he found himself tied up really tightly and surrounded by Issei and his friends. Issei senpai, what is going on? Issei came and wrapped his arm around Naruto's neck. Don't worry Naruto, you're not in any trouble. We just wanted to ask you a few questions, so please just answer them for us. He pleaded. Well, I guess I can do that, but why did you have to tie me up? Argued Naruto as he moved his arms about to try and free himself, but found that they were tied really tight. We can answer that later. Now on to the questions, Naruto. All three of them were really quick to divert the question asked by Naruto, but Naruto didn't mind it so much cause he just wanted this done as quickly as possible. Four guys stuck in a tight and cramped place with one of the four tied up really nicely was a little weird for him to say the least. So we heard that you walked into the school with Rias senpai a while back, is that true? Naruto nodded his head. And you also held her bag, right? Naruto once again nodded his head, which caused the three of them to enter into a state of temporary depression. Even our junior has better luck at picking up girls than us, and we've been here for a year longer than he has. The three of them admitted, but before they could ask Naruto anything else, Naruto just had to blurt out one thing. Well, technically speaking, I've been working at the cafe nearby since my final year of junior high, and since most of the girls do visit there during lunch for the buns that I've made, I actually know most of the second-year students and some of the third-year students. The jaws of the three boys dropped even further than before upon Naruto's admission. What? Did you hear that our junior works at the most prestigious place to see the girls of the academy? All three boys held each other hands as tears of either joy or extreme sadness flowed from their eyes. Naruto couldn't identify them, and to be honest, he didn't want to, so taking this chance before they started to do anything or ask anything else, Naruto slowly inched backwards away from the three boys, and when he was sure that he was safe he ran away at top speed, leaving a cloud of dust behind him. As for Issei, Mitsuda and Motohama, when they finally stopped crying, they realized that Naruto had disappeared and started throwing curses back at each other for letting Naruto run away before all of their questions were answered. But Naruto. After he had run away from his senpais, he ran towards the only place where he could think to hide, the occult research clubhouse. Using his elbows, he opened the door to the place but stumbled and landed on the ground. Ow, that hurt. Now to find someplace to hide or just wait until either Kiba, Akeno or Rias senpai arrive, then they can cut me loose from these ropes, though I must say they really do know how to tie their knots. What have they been reading? Oh Naruto-kun, you're here early. Rias looked up from documents and books that she was working on, referring to see Naruto on the ground tied up, so she got out of her seat and moved to help him up and moved him over to the sofa in the room before searching around her table for a good pair of scissors to cut the rope with. So Naruto, how did you come to be like this? Rias asked as she began to cut the rope with a little difficulty. Well, someone just wanted to ask a few questions, and they had a very interesting way of getting me to answer them. Admitted Naruto as he added a little chuckle in hoping that Rias didn't think that he had some sort of weird secret sexual fetish. Anyways, I forgot to tell you that as a devil you are not allowed to pray to God or touch the Bible. Naruto already knew that part thanks to Asia, and he didn't want to be reminded of it. Sequence in Naruto's head. First, weird force constricts the neck, making him suffocate. Second, head starts to go woozy, vision starts to fade. Third, stomach sickness, and finally fourth, fainting. You are also not allowed to go near any church or place of holy worship, and even people praying for you will not be allowed. Naruto was taken aback by what she said. Why, you know? Rias nodded her head. Yes Naruto, I know about the nun that you helped. It was a nice gesture on your part, but you must know that you are a devil, and she was someone under God's domain. Thankfully the angels in the church that you escorted her to saw that you were helping one of their own and decided not to strike you down, but you should not push your luck any more than needed. Naruto nodded in understanding. Then that presence that I felt when I got back home must have been Rainer. These scissors just won't cut it. Rias threw the scissors down in exasperation. Hold still Naruto, and I will use a spell to cut it. Naruto quickly jumped out of his seat and backed away slowly. For some reason he was scared of Rias when she was going to cast a spell, even though he had never seen her cast her magic. Wait, don't you think you're going a bit too far by using a spell? I mean, if you can't do it, then let's just wait for Kiba-senpai or anyone else, I really don't mind. But aren't you uncomfortable if I do this now? Then we can get you free. Rias approached Naruto, one of her hands covered with red energy. And now just hold on, senpai, don't. Naruto immediately bolted for the door but couldn't reach the handle in time as Rias tackled him to the ground and had her foot planted on his body as he struggled to get free. Now just hold still, Naruto, this will only take a second. Rias replied a little too sweetly in his opinion. Just as she was about to use her spell, the door opened to reveal Akeno. Oh my, Naruto-kun, I didn't know that you were so naughty doing this kind of thing with Butchu. Akeno covered her mouth and giggled while Kiba and Kaneko peeked over her shoulder to see what was going on. Naruto hentai. Naruto looked over at Kaneko with a weird look. Hey, that's uncalled for, I'm not that kind of pervert, I swear, I'm just stuck in a weird situation now, can someone get me out of it? Pleaded Naruto. Kiba came forward and taking out a sword that was by his hip, he cut the ropes off of Naruto, allowing him to stand up, stretch and rub his painful spots. Thank you, Kiba-senpai. Oh, I thought that Naruto-kun could stay like that, then after our job is done we could have so much fun together. Akeno commented before crossing over and whispering something into Ria's ear. As she was doing that, a cold shiver ran down Naruto's spine when he thought about the fun Akeno mentioned. For some reason he thought of Akeno in some kind of tight skimpy leather outfit, using a whip on him as he was tied up. Shaking his head, he banished the thought from his mind just as Akeno finished whispering to Rias. Clapping her hand, Rias gained the attention of all club member. Well, it seems like we have received a job from one of the other nobles. Rias had everyone move to the sofa where she could look at everyone and inform them of their job. It seems that one of the other devil nobles has had a little incident where their servant has left their services, and since this devil has entered our territory, we have been given the duty of hunting her down. Naruto thought back to the morning news report. I saw a news report this morning about a dead lady being found in the warehouse district. Would there be any connection between this deserter devil and the dead women that they found? Rias nodded. It would appear so for the details that have been passed to us. It seems that the target is extremely bloodthirsty, so she may have been the one to kill that woman, which is why we have to take her out, and this duty falls to us, because as I've said before, she is in the area that my family controls. This will also be a good opportunity to show you more about the system that the devils use, so I would like for you to remain by mine or Akeno's side during this fight. Is that understood, Naruto? Even though you have the experience of fighting the fallen angels to a certain extent, you do not fully understand the range of abilities that being a devil has to offer you. Naruto nodded his head in confirmation. Very well, then we'll move out when it gets dark, is that understood? Everyone nodded before they went about their own business. Kiba was checking his sword. Kaneko decided to have some chocolate. Akeno teased Naruto about his situation a minute before, while Rias continued her research about the Archins. At night, Rias teleported herself and her peerage to the location where they suspected that the stray devil was. While they were searching for the devil, Akeno decided to explain to Naruto what they were doing. When a devil that is betrayed, escaped or killed their master, they will become known as a stray demon, and the master may send in a request to have his ex-servant executed, but since the stray devil is in our territory, the duty has fallen to us. It's just like the shinobi system back in the N, thought Naruto. And since this is a job, we will also be rewarded once we kill the stray devil. So what did Butchu mean when she said the devils had abilities? Naruto asked as they kept a lookout for the stray demon. This was where Rias took over the explanation. Have you ever played chess, Naruto? Naruto nodded his head. Yeah, but what does it have to do with the devil's power? Well, after the war thousands of years ago, the devils lost many soldiers during that event, and so one of the four Satans came up with a system in which we could rebuild our forces while also maintaining the status between the different families, and they called it the evil piece system. Like the game of chess, each evil piece that the devils use correspond to one piece from the game of chess. However, Rias had to stop her explanation when she noticed that Kaneko waved her hand to get them over. She's here, Kaneko confirmed as the coppery smell of blood got to all of their senses. From the darkness a figure rose up, and it just so happens that she was half naked and groping her. Naruto looked at it for one moment before he covered his eyes. I really shouldn't be looking at this. Well, I guess a quick peek wouldn't hurt. He opened his hand a little bit and took in the side of her dot. Oh, I smell 5 little beings to the slaughter now. Who shall be first? I promise that this will be as painless as I can make it. A magic seal formed on her, and before they knew it, milk shot out of the main Detrius. Butchu? Naruto jumped in front of her and summoned forth his sacred gear to protect her. The milk splashed on the shield and dripped to the ground where it began to melt into the floor. Shit, her milk's like the alien's blood from that one movie Dad really loves. thought Naruto as he steadied himself up while also maintaining his shield. When Rias regained her senses she glared at Visor, angry at her attempt to kill her. She would make sure that Visor received a painful and agonizing death courtesy of them. Visor, your time has come. Rias Gremory of the Gremory clan shall now net out your punishment for betraying your master and attacking me as well, Kiba. Hi Butchu. Kiba stepped forward, drew his sword and gripped it with both hands, but Visor was not amused by him drawing his blade. You impudent child, just because you serve under the house of Gremory do not expect me to bow to you. From within the shadow Visor emerged to show that he full being was of some beautiful woman's body on top of some monster legs. To be honest, it was a little freaky to Naruto. As for Kiba, he was not even unnerved as he gripped his sword even harder. Visor brought her monster legs down upon Kiba, but he just vanished before they even hit the ground. He just disappeared. Exclaimed Naruto while Rias stepped next to Naruto and nodded. That is because Kiba is the knight, and as a knight Kiba gains increased speed and mobility, enabling him to perform high-speed attacks and maneuvers. Naruto looked back up at Visor, and with a glint of Kiba's sword, both of her human arms were cut off with such speed that Visor was totally stunned by what had happened, and when it finally hit her that her arms were cut off, she screamed in agony at the loss of her arms. Growling in pain, Visor slowly picked herself up, which was when Kaneko stepped forward to face off against Visor, who in a fit of rage, further demonized herself, turning her normal teeth into really sharp one, and her lower body now had monstrous teeth coming out of it. Kaneko, get out of the way. However, it was too late as Visor gobbled up Kaneko in a flash. Just as she started to chew Kaneko, the jaw stopped and it was slowly forced open from the inside. Inside of Visor's mouth was Kaneko, who was forcing Visor's mouth open. Her clothes were slightly melted, possibly from Visor's saliva. Kaneko-chan is the Rook, and as the Rook she gains an immense amount of strength, along with amazing defensive ability. Kaneko pushed the jaw of Visor's lower body apart and got herself out of there. Once done, she lifted one of Visor's monster legs slightly up before effortlessly tossing her to the side. Visor landed with a cloud of dust, which was when Akeno decided to step up to center stage, lightning crackling in her hand. Oh my, attacking Butchu is a capital offense, and for that you are to receive the capital punishment. Akeno mused in a sort of playful voice. Attacking Naruto-kun is also a big no-no for me. Now it's time for your punishment. Akeno raised both of her hands into the air, and before Naruto knew it, lightning came crackling down onto Visor. Akeno is the queen, the almighty vice commander, combining all of the strengths of the Rook, Knight and Bishop. She specializes in attacks using her demonic powers. On top of that, she is Akeno stopped her rain of lightning for the moment to sensuously lick her lips. The complete sadist. Akeno brought down more lighting onto Visor, all while laughing like a child in a candy store. As for Naruto, he was shaking in his mind as the picture of Akeno with a whip returned in all its glory. But don't worry Naruto-kun, just because Akeno is a sadist I don't think that she will do anything to her allies. Her lover on the other hand is a completely different matter. Rias thought before turning her attention back to Visor. Akeno, that is enough. But the order given, Akeno stopped casting her spell as Rias stepped up to finish Visor off. And I, Naruto-kun, am your king. If I fall then everything is over. Don't worry Butchu, none of us will let anything happen to you. Declared Naruto, which made Rias smile. I know Naruto. Now then Visor, your time is off. However, the clattering sound of gunfire was heard, quickly bringing his sacred gear up to protect Rias. The bullets bounced harmlessly off of his shield and landed on the ground. Bullets were also aimed at Kiba, who just cut them in half or dodged them. Kaneko's impressive defense just had the bullet stop and fall to the ground, but the amount of bullets aimed at her caused her to put her hand up in defense, while Akeno also put up a barrier around herself. Lights were suddenly turned on in the warehouse as the place suddenly came alive with activity. All over the place, soldiers wearing standard combat gear that masked their identity entered the area and held their aim at all of the demons in the area, from both the ground level and the level above them. And from the look of things, the man that entered last wearing glasses was in charge of them as he called for them to spread out. Well, I must say this is indeed a stroke of luck for us to find the one that we have been looking for. I thank you for your help, Devil-san, but now that we are here we will take over the situation, for it seems as though you have outstayed your welcome here. The man with the glasses pushed his glasses up, the light glinting off of them, though Naruto could have sworn that the man was looking at him as though he was some sort of prize. Very well then, we will go for now, but be warned, we will not allow you to interfere in our matters again. Human Naruto, everyone, we're going. Naruto nodded but still didn't lower his shields as all of Ria's peerage gathered around her and teleported back to the clubhouse. Once they were gone, the soldiers went about placing objects onto Visor. These objects would hopefully keep her unconscious while they transported her, calling in transports, as well as cleaning up the area of all the blood or magical taint. Sir, we've managed to take care of everything. It seems as though the kids that were here moments ago had a lot of magical energy, though the one with the weird bracer had some kind of weird energy emitting from him, and according to the scanners this kid was the same one that we tracked the other day at the park, sir. Glasses, that is the man with the glasses name until later on, smiled a little. Is that so, then carry on soldier, I have a special report to make to the higher-ups. The soldier handed the scanner over to Glasses before giving a salute to Glasses and continued going about his other duty. As for Glasses, he took a look at the scanner before a smile came across his face. Taking out his phone, he called his superior officers. Sir, I believe we have found what we need to bring Plan G to life. On the other end of the line. Is that so? Very well, then do whatever you need to get the subject. Once there, I am sure that he will be willing to provide what is needed. But he is under the command of the girl with the red hair. Should we anger her? If we do take her servant, she may do something drastic against us, and I fear that this is something that we cannot stop. Then we shall use the failed subjects of Plan G to stall her. When you capture the subject, use whatever you think is necessary and then have him transported to Base 6 in the heart of the city. She will not be willing to cause such a fiasco once there. Understood. Replied Glasses as he hung up the phone, and a smile came across his face. Devils, angels, whatever you may be called, this is one fight that you will never win. With the call done, the vehicles arrived and the soldiers shipped Visor to their secret facility for experimentation. With Rias and her peerage. They had just teleported back to the clubhouse. Rias, but you just who exactly were those people and how did they know about the existence of Devil? Naruto asked, though Rias could only sigh as she walked over to her table cluttered with books and texts. Taking a seat, she laced her fingers together. Those humans would be known as the Supernatural Defense Force, SDF, and they are a task force of humans that have been formed to protect humanity from supernatural threats like us. They operate in both the night and day. The news report that you saw was just one facet of their job. They clean up, erase and cover up all traces of supernatural occurrences wherever possible. If needed, then they will also eliminate supernatural beings that have caused trouble to humans. So they're basically a human fighting force that will be willing to fight all of us if need be. Rias nodded her head in confirmation. So what should we do if we ever meet them again, Rias Butchu? Asked Naruto. We will just have to leave the job to them. I'd hate to admit it, but if the SDF were willing to fight, then they will do whatever they need to eliminate us. Naruto gulped before he excused himself for the night along with Kiba and Kaneko, with orders from Rias to take a break over the next few days and not go outside just in case. The next day. Naruto had just finished class for the day and he had more questions about the evil P system because, as he remembered, Rias senpai still didn't explain what the bishop or the pawn were supposed to be. Entering the clubhouse, he found Akeno was there cleaning up Rias' messy table. Oh, Akeno-chan, I didn't know you were here. Oh, what's wrong, Naruto-kun? Am I not good enough for you? Akeno hugged her body in a way that just highlighted every one of her curves. No, you're really good, it's just that Rias senpai never explained what the bishop and pawn's roles were yesterday, so I came down here to find her. I'll explain them to you if you treat me to some afternoon tea. Akeno mused, seeing nothing wrong. Naruto agreed, and both of them left to the nearby mall where they got a booth in a restaurant, ordered some food along with drinks, before Akeno explained the roles of the other two pieces. Well, for the bishop, they specialize in using magic, which can be used to cast a multitude of spells, though the more powerful the spell, the more magical power they will end up using, so this forces them to use their power carefully, if not they run the risk of being vulnerable to physical attacks. Naruto nodded in understanding. It made sense. The bishop would have something like an MP bar, which would drain whenever they casted a spell, and if it was all used up, then they probably wouldn't be able to defend themselves. And then last but not least, we have you, the pawn, Naruto. Your special ability is to be able to promote to a queen, rook, knight or bishop in an enemy territory, which could consist of churches, or when they are given the permission from their king. Naruto sort of gained a sweat drop when she mentioned that he was the pawn, but then he thought back to chess. A single pawn promoting to a queen could win the game, so he was the weakest when he was in Ria's territory, but when he was in an enemy's territory, he could become the strongest. And that would pretty much cover all that you need to know about the evil pieces system at the moment. But wait, if Kaneko is the rook, Kiba the knight, you the queen, Ria's the king, and I'm the pawn, then who is the bishop? Akeno shrugged her shoulders. You may want to ask Butchu about that. Now let's dig in. Naruto agreed and dug into the food. After all, he was paying, so they should eat the food when it was still hot. All the while they made small talk about hobbies, interests, anything to really occupy themselves. A while later, the both of them left the restaurant full of goodness. Ah, that was truly a good tea, thank you, Naruto-kun, we'll have to do it again. Sure, I guess so. Naruto replied before Akeno ran up to him and wrapped her arms around Naruto's own. Come on then, Naruto, you won't mind escorting me back to the academy now, won't you? Naruto shook his head and the both of them went back. She's acting really close to me, she can't like me, right? I mean, I like Rainer, what should I do? He thought, as people around them thought that both of them looked really good together as a couple. They were even stopped by a photographer who took their picture. As for Akeno, she was content with spending time with Naruto, even though she knew that he still loved Rainer, she was open to sharing, so long as he treated them all the same then she had no problem, he was going to have a chance to earn a peerage at one point. Skip the afternoon of the day Naruto is supposed to meet Rainer. Naruto was currently in his work uniform in the bakery of the cafe making buns when his boss called for him. "Hey Naruto, take a break cause you've got a guest." Naruto looked up and thought. Must be Akeno-chan. Washing his hands, Naruto went out to see Asia standing there sticking out like a sore thumb since she was wearing her usual attire. "Oh Asia, is something wrong?" Well, I was lonely and I just wanted someone to," she replied as she shyly poked her fingers together. All Naruto could do was sigh at her actions, but he decided to spend some time with her nonetheless, so he clocked out for the day and met Asia at the front of the cafe. "So Asia, now that we're out here, what do you want to do?" Naruto asked, though Asia only had her attention focused on Naruto's face. "Hold still Naruto, there is something on your face." Asia took out a handkerchief from her dress and raised it to Naruto's face to wipe something that was on his face, but Naruto borrowed the handkerchief from Asia and cleaned his face up himself. Turns out that some flour landed on his face, but now he was clean. Well, I'm not so sure what to do even though I called you away from your job." Asia replied as the both of them just walked. "Well, if you don't know what to do then why don't I bring you about some of my favorite places in town." Asia looked up happier and followed Naruto to the arcade where they had fun playing some racing games, fighting games and all sort of other games. They were on their way out of the arcade when Asia stopped for a moment to take a look at something. Naruto looked back to see her over by the crane machines. "Do you want one, Asia?" asked Naruto as he pointed to the machine full of Pikachu toys. Asia shyly nodded before Naruto moved over to operate the machine, and a few minutes later Asia happily walked out of the arcade with Naruto and the Pikachu toy in her hands. "Thank you Naruto, I'll always treasure this." Asia was truly thankful that someone had given her such a nice gift. But the day almost done, Naruto decided to take Asia back to her church. "Naruto, thank you for going out with me today." Don't worry about it Asia, we're friends, right?" "And that's what friends do." Asia had a few tears fall from her eyes before she nodded. "Yes, we're friends, thank you Naruto." Asia replied as she hugged Naruto. "All my life I've never had one friend, so thank you for being my first," she cried out into his shoulder, while Naruto just returned her embrace. "I understand the feeling Asia, no Naruto. You can't let your own personal feelings get in the way of what is the situation right now. She's a nun while you're a devil, we can't be friends." "Alright then, let's dry those tears, then Asia, it's getting dark and I think your church may send people out looking for you soon." Asia cleaned up her tears and Naruto brought her as close as he could get to the church before his phone vibrated, so he had to cut the trip short and had Asia head up to the church by herself. At night, Naruto was already there at the meeting place and sat down by the fountain waiting for Rainer to make her appearance, suddenly feeling someone wrap their hands around him. Naruto crooked his head back to see Rainer in her human outfit hugging him. "Hey there Rainer, I missed you." "I missed you too," she replied as she let go of Naruto so that he could turn around to face her. They were about to kiss when a familiar voice called out to Rainer. Well, I must say Rainer, you have done an excellent job in tricking the target out into the open." Turning to the voice, Naruto could see Donasek standing there along with the fallen angel from before, another girl that had blonde hair, and last but not least, there was a guy with white hair and a crazed look in his eyes. As for Naruto, he couldn't believe it. He turned back to Rainer and saw that she had fear in her eyes. "I didn't tell them anything Naruto-kun, I swear." They had been caught meeting by the other fallen angels, or rather the fallen angels most likely knew about them meeting here ever since they met the last time. Hey, now that we've got him, can I kill him please?" The crazed man begged. The black-haired fallen angel nodded and so the man drew out a sword hilt and a gun. "Now devil, time to die." The crazed man charged for Naruto, who brought out his sacred gear to defend himself. Ho, so the devil actually has some skill in defending, eh? Well, that's good cause I would hate for this to get boring," he said as his sword hilt suddenly produced a blade of light that just hit against the shield that Naruto formed. Naruto struggled against the blade for a moment before he managed to push it off and punched the man in the face, sending him flying back. Oh, that really hurt. "But my blood is now boiling to tear your skin from your body, so won't you let me, devil-san?" Taking out his gun, the crazed gunman shot a bullet at Naruto, which was so fast that he didn't even have a chance to block it. The bullet entered his thigh, sending him to the ground gasping from the pain. "Oh, so devil-san doesn't like my bullets, huh? Well, that's good cause they're bullets of light and I'm sure that they'll light up your day," he replied before breaking out into maniacal laughter. "Naruto!" Rainer screamed as she ran up to him, but she was stopped by the other three fallen angels. "Free, take care of the boy, she is ours, middle, stay here to make sure he gets the job done." The blonde girl nodded before perching herself up on a tree so that she could see all the action. Seeing that there was going to be fight, Rainer transformed into her fallen angel form to fight off the other three, while Naruto just managed to pick himself up again. His leg was still in pain. Rainer. Come on, critical bracer, give me power. I need power to protect her. He thought when suddenly his critical bracer glowed with light and exploded. Awakening. As the light faded, Naruto could see that it turned from a simple fingerless glove to a full gauntlet that had some kind of empty bar running from his palm down. What is this? Oh ho, so the devil has gained an increase in ability, huh? Well, good cause I want this fight. Fried laughed out as he charged Naruto with his blade of light. This time Naruto was ready and raised his hand to block it, and when he did, the empty bar on the palm side of his sacred gear began to fill up. Damn you, devil-san. Why don't you just die? Fried screamed out, slamming his sword against the shield, was also firing his gun, all having no effect on the shield. Finally, the bar on Naruto's sacred gear was full, and Fried was getting tired from attacking Naruto with no effect. Fried, you loser, let me show you how to finish him off. The blonde fallen angel made a pink light spear and charged at Naruto, who raised his arm to defend himself, and thankfully the shield came online at the right moment, so Middle's light spear just hit the shield, sending Naruto skidding back until he hit a tree. I can't hold on much longer, if only I could do the Rasengan. The bar on Naruto's arm began to blink until the jewel that was on Naruto's palm lit up. Overburst. The form Middle could dodge a huge sphere similar to the Rasengan, but way bigger, expanded from Naruto's palm, and in a flash of light Middle was consumed by the sphere, and in front of Naruto was nothing but a crater that had a rounded bottom. As for Naruto, he stumbled to the ground exhausted. The bar on his sacred gear was now empty. Wow, who'd have thought a devil like you could have such a powerful ability? But nonetheless, the world has lost a great asset, hahaha. Fried gave a moment of silence before he exploded into laughter until he calmed himself down, but alas, the laughter had attracted the attention of one girl. Naruto. Naruto looked over to who called his name, but he could have sworn that the girl had blonde hair. As his vision returned to him, he could finally make out who it is. Asia. Said girl ran up to Naruto and tried to help him up, but was stopped when a shot from Fried's gun nearly hit her. Stop right there, missy. Fried was wagging his fingers, looking ashamed at Asia. Don't you know that the boy before you is a devil? And as you know, devils are our enemies, so what are you doing helping him? Asia looked down at Naruto with a little fear in her eyes before she ran up and blocked Fried's path to Naruto with her body. I don't care. Naruto is my friend, my only friend, and I won't let you kill him even if he is a devil. Fried shrugged his shoulder. Oh well, no skin off my back. He aimed his gun at both of them, but before he could fire a shot, another shot rang out from the side which hit his gun, knocking it out of its path and hitting the ground next to Asia. What? Fried turned to the side to see soldiers who had their guns trained on him. Oh my, this is getting exciting, though it may be a bit too exciting for me. Fried bowed to everyone before he disappeared. I shall see you again, devil-san, don't ever think you're safe. I will find you and I will kill you slowly and painfully. Sir, we've stopped the target from killing them. A soldier reported as they moved into the area. They'd secure the target and scan the other one. We could use her in some way. A soldier approached Asia with some kind of device which began to rapidly tick. The soldier looked over to Glasses, who nodded. Bag this one too. He ordered as soldiers came and tied Asia up. As for Naruto, he was carefully sedated by combat medics, placed onto a stretcher, secured properly and moved onto an armored vehicle along with Asia. Just as the soldiers were ready to move out, a seal appeared on the floor and Rias along with Akeno appeared with Rainer, who floated down next to them. Naruto. She screamed out and saw the soldiers immediately point their guns at the entire group. Open fire. Open fire. Soldiers who were able to immediately open fire upon the entire group, but their bullets never touched them, for Akeno managed to erect a barrier around them. Shit. They've got a barrier about them, hold your fire. Hold. Glasses ordered as he took out a remote and ordered the other soldiers to fall back to a safer firing distance with the armored vehicle. Lighting crackled in Akeno's finger when she saw that the vehicle moved out. I would avoid doing that, devil-san. Glasses held his hand over the button on the remote all the while he slowly inched backwards. Retreat now. Or I will kill everything in the immediate area, devil, angel or otherwise. Glasses had the look in his eyes that just said. I will do it, so why don't you try something that will force my hand? Rias had a look of anger on her face at the loss of her servant. I would advise you to return him to me or else. Glasses shook his head in denial. Then you leave me no choice. Rias charged up a spell while Akeno shot lighting and Rainer threw a light spear at Glasses. Damn it, they called my gamble. No matter, I still have the remote. All of their attacks never hit Glasses, for they were blocked when he pressed the button, and armored figures that looked similar to Naruto's Nexus form wearing weird armor stood in front of him, their attacks shrugged off by the armored figure. Take care of them. Glasses ordered before he got behind the armored figures and ordered a full retreat of all soldiers in the area. The armored figures managed to hold off Rias and her peerage until their visors began to blink and they disappeared, leaving Rias, Akeno and Rainer alone in the area. Rainer slipped to the ground and was about to go after Glasses, but she was stopped by Akeno who held onto her hand. "Rainer, you shouldn't go after Naruto alone." But Rainer wasn't going to hear it and wrenched her hand out of Akeno's grasp. "Who are you to tell me what to do? I love Naruto and he would do the same for me. For any of us." But before she could continue her rant, Rainer felt a stinging sensation across her face. Akeno had tears in her eyes. Don't you ever say that I care for him the same way, but we have to face the facts at the moment. Naruto has been taken away by the SDF at the moment and we have no idea where their base is. If we go about randomly searching for him, then we may become targets for the SDF. Rainer closed her eyes and agreed to what Akeno was saying. She collapsed to the ground and cried, while Akeno comforted her. At the same time, Rias was thinking about what they could do to rescue Naruto or where they could have taken him. After a while she came to the conclusion that there were too many places they could hide him, but suddenly she realized who they could go to for help. "Akeno, I think it's time we paid my brother a visit. He should know where the SDF has taken Naruto." Naruto slowly woke up to find himself staring straight into a white light. His mind was a complete mess. He had no idea where he was. What's going on? The last thing I remember is Asia. Naruto remembered that Asia protected him with her body from that crazy guy. He moved to pick himself off of whatever he was lying on, but he just couldn't move. Something was keeping him down. Finally the light moved out of the way and Naruto was now looking into the eyes of someone wearing a mask and goggles. "Sir, it seems that the subject is currently awake. What should we do? Our orders from the top said that they're not ready for him to be awake, so just keep him sedated until further notice. Make sure that when they do pick him up, he is under level 5 guard and has everything on him." The higher-ups apparently want to start on plan G as soon as adjustments are made to the others. "Oh, and when you're done sedating him, check on the girl, make sure that she's still alive. Since she got here she's been screaming her head off and it's giving me a headache whenever I go down to check on her." "Yeah, I'll do just that after this." One of the guys in a mask injected something into a tube that entered Naruto's bloodstream and before he knew it he slipped back into unconsciousness. With Rias, Akeno and Rainer. Rainer had insisted upon going with them to see Rias' brother, but because she was a fallen angel she wasn't allowed to, so she did the last thing that Rias expected. Rainer offered herself to become a devil. Rias tried to argue back that by doing so she would most likely be looked down upon by some of the other devils because of her fallen angel's aspects. But Rainer didn't care. If she became a devil, then she could be together with Naruto. Rainer kneeled in front of Rias and asked her to accept her as one of her evil pieces. Seeing that there was no way to dissuade Rainer from changing her mind, Rias accepted Rainer as her final pawn. But the deed done, Rainer stood alongside Rias. When all were close to Rias, she opened a portal that sent all of them to the underworld. When the seal disappeared, they found themselves in front of large official-looking building. Rias walked up and opened the large double doors to reveal a silver-haired lady wearing strangely enough a French-made outfit. "Rias-sama." The lady greeted. "I did not realize that you would be visiting us today. May I know why you are here?" the lady asked in a polite voice. Yes, sorry for the intrusion today, Grafia, but I need to see Nai-san right now." The silver-haired lady seemed surprised by Rias' request. Nonetheless she brought them through the building until they arrived to another set of large double doors, though these were colored red like Rias' hair. As Grafia opened the double doors, Rainer was not sure what to expect of her new master's brother, who, as Rias explained on the way in, was the leader of the 4 great Satans, meaning that he was extremely powerful, so she was expecting some kind of serious hard ass that was always able to take charge of a situation if there ever was one, and if based on how serious Grafia acted, then he was most probably going to be even worse than that. When the doors finally swung open, it revealed a red-haired man who Rainer could say looked similar to Rias if she were a male, wearing a set of armor that was beautifully designed, and he was reading a joke book. Grafia sighed and went up to the man and bonked him on the head once with a Harrison. This is essentially that fan that they use to whack people on the head, causing him to drop the book in surprise at the hit. "Surziches-sama, you have guests." Surziches quickly hid the book away before turning his attention to the group entering his office. "Rias, it is nice to see you again." Surziches left his seat and came around to hug Rias, while Akeno and Rainer bowed in respect to the man. "And it is nice to see you too, Akeno." Akeno returned the compliment before Surziches turned his attention to Rainer. "And you must be my sister's new servant. I welcome you to her family if she hasn't done so." Rainer was surprised by how polite he was since she used to be a fallen angel. "Now then, Rias, what can I do for you today?" Surziches returned to his seat and folded his fingers together as Rias walked up to a seat in front of him and sat down, Akeno and Rainer standing by her side. "Nai-san, I would like to know something about the SDF." Surzich's eyes hardened for a moment before they turned back to normal. Why would you want to know something about them, Rias? They have taken one of my pawns and I intend to retrieve him, but I don't know where they could have hidden him. Surzic sighed before he got out of his chair and stood behind it looking out onto his backyard. I knew that this day would come, but I kept many details from you, Rias, especially when it comes to the SDF. Rias looked surprised by what her brother was saying. Nai-san, what are you saying? If your servant has been captured by the SDF, then I'm afraid that he may be gone. Tears wanted to fall from Rainer's eyes, but she managed to keep them in as Surzic continued his explanation. The SDF, they are unscrupulous when it comes to what they do. Angels, devils, fallen angels and monsters that have been captured by the SDF have never been seen again. Rumors going around say that these monsters have been used as experiments to test out weapons that the SDF has made to defeat us. If your pawn has truly been caught by them, then for all we know he may be gone. I'm sorry, Rias, but you will just have to let him go, and if not, then I have explicit orders from father to stop you from going after him. Surzic placed a hand on Ria's shoulder to comfort her. No. You're wrong, Naruto won't be gone, he promised that we would stay together. Turning over, Rainer had apparently exploded with emotions. Surzic stared into her eyes and saw an insurmountable amount of love and devotion from within her. Akeno had some, though it was slightly less, and even Rias had a little bit of it within them, though it was nowhere near the amount the girl had. Surzic nodded before he returned to his seat and took out a paper and began to scribble down something. When he was done, he stood up. I have something important to do, so I will leave this very important piece of writing that is in no way connected to the SDF here. Can I trust that you won't look at it, Rias? Rias sadly nodded before Surzic excused himself from the room. Once he was gone, Rias lifted the piece of paper and saw what it had written on it. If the SDF has captured your servant for a purpose, then they would most likely be located in the heart of the city that is under our control. Spies that I've sent out to investigate weird monster signatures have reported an unusual presence of supernatural energy in that area, comprised of many different beings. If you are going, then be sure to be stealthy when entering, for this would not be the first time they have met a Gremory. Thank you, Nai-san. Rias quickly pulled Akeno and Rainer together before casting a teleport spell that sent them back to the clubhouse. As soon as they were gone, Surzic stepped back into the room. Was that wise, Surzic Sama? Surzic nodded his head. As members of the Gremory family, we cannot bear to lose someone that is under us, and if I know my sister, then she already has a plan to save her precious servant, and if she doesn't, then she does have that girl and Akeno to help her, along with the rest of her peerage, though just in case be on the lookout for anything Grafia. Being close to our servants is a weakness that we all share, but when the time comes it is also our greatest strength. Grafia nodded before the both of them returned to their normal duties, leaving Surzic alone in the room looking out the window. The SDF must be planning something. If they've made a move like this, then I will have to talk to Falbium to ensure that we are able to handle it. Hopefully he is at his office and not lazing about somewhere in the underworld. The clubhouse. As soon as the teleporting seal disappeared, Rias and Akeno searched the room and pulled out a map of the city, and along with Rainer, they began to come up with a plan to save Naruto and, if possible, any innocent monsters that the SDF had captured. Many hours later. But the sun coming up, the members of the Occult Research Club finally realized how long they had spent coming up with the plan to save Naruto. I think that this is enough for today, Akeno. Rainer, go to bed and we'll meet again when it's nighttime. I'll tell Kiba and Akeno to meet us later tonight so that we could go over the plan with them. Akeno and Rainer wanted to argue, but a yawn closed that door before it even opened, so Akeno decided to show Rainer to one of the spare rooms that she could use for the time being until proper arrangements could be made for her. Akeno even lent her some clothes to wear until she could get some. Before Rainer turned and she took off the necklace and held it close to herself. Don't worry, Naruto, we'll be together soon, I promise. Akeno laid in her bed thinking about Naruto and how she was going to get him used to the idea that one day he could come to love both her and Rainer. Well, it was still technically legal under the devil law. As for Rias, she was cursing both the SDF and Naruto, the SDF for stealing Naruto from her and Naruto for getting kidnapped by them, but before she turned in for a few hours of sleep, she called in that Akeno, Naruto and herself would not be attending school and to get someone to inform Kiba and Kaneko to meet later tonight. Later that night. Kiba and Kaneko arrived to the clubhouse to find Rias, Akeno and Rainer dressed up in an all-black attire resembling the stereotypical image of ninjas. But what are you doing and why are you dressed like that? Kiba asked before both he and Kaneko had to catch clothes similar to the one that they were wearing. Put those on now, Kiba, Kaneko, we have a mission to do, and this is Rainer, my new pawn. You can get to know her later after the mission. Going by the serious tone that Rias was speaking in, they knew that this mission was of some importance to her. This was also when Kaneko noticed that someone was missing from their group. Rias, where is Naruto-san? That is when Rias took a second to pause and catch her breath. That is who we're going after. Kiba and Kaneko looked at Rias with questioning looks, and even though they didn't say it, Rias knew that they wanted answers as to where he was. Very well then, Kiba and Kaneko, take a seat. They did just that as Rias sat on top of her table. Last night Naruto was kidnapped by the SDF after he was caught in a trap by some fallen angels. Rias looked over to Rainer, who looked down in shame before she continued. So now we have to go and rescue him. From information that I have gathered, Naruto is currently being held in the center of the city, so we will need to be stealthy as possible. And now Kiba and Kaneko understood the urgency of the situation. Rumors that they heard from other devils said that monsters that the SDF captured were never seen again, and if they captured Naruto then they were possibly doing who knows what to him. So what is the plan to rescue him but you? Rias brought out a map of the area that had markings all over it. Akeno and Rainer will first set up an illusion spell around the main building of the SDF so that the people outside don't know what is happening, and the SDF also can't call in for more reinforcements from their other facilities. Rias pointed to the various markings around the building to indicate where the spell should be set up. Once there we have to ensure that we can locate Naruto in the building, and for this part we will use our familiars to do the job. Once inside they will find the security room or wherever they keep the information. Once they get the information back to us then we will begin our infiltration into the building. Everyone nodded. Alright then, we'll move out when it gets a little later into the night. Kaneko, can you come over here for a moment? Kaneko followed Rias to the back where the both of them had a discussion on how she should lead the familiars into the facility due to her small stature. A while later. But the illusion spell is currently in place. The familiars and Kaneko can begin their infiltration of the facility. Rias brought her hand up to her ear and spoke. Kaneko, you can enter the facility now, find that information according to the plan, alright? Hi. Kaneko answered as she quickly unscrewed the screws keeping the grate in place and hefting a bag over her shoulders, which carried all the familiars, except for Kiba's cause it was in the sky looking out for anything strange. Kaneko crawled through the air ducts until she came to a four-way intersection. Opening the bag she freed the other familiars including her own and gave them their directions. Okay, now let's split up, if you find something then just say so. The familiars nodded before they separated into their separate direction. Kaneko's got on her shoulder as Kaneko crawled through the duct until she finally came to the end of the duct where she found a way to the ground below. Okay Shiro, good luck. Kaneko took out a piece of rope and tied it around Shiro's body. Opening the grate a little, Kaneko slowly lowered Shiro to the ground. When Shiro touched the ground he quickly crawled out and made sure that the way was clear before Kaneko dropped to the ground as well. But I'm in. Alright then Kaneko, remember, follow the plan. As Kaneko searched through the various rooms to find the security office, she remembered what Rias told her. Remember Kaneko, when you find the data room or security room, search for Naruto first. Once you found him, search for any weapon that the SDF may be developing, and if you deem it harmful to us, destroy all evidence of it. Before she could open the last door a message came in from one of the other familiars, so Kaneko had to retrace her steps and find the other familiars. A while later. Kaneko arrived to the security room where she found the guards knocked out and Akeno and Rias familiars waiting for her. Quickly taking the spot next to the computer she began to search for the location of Naruto. Prisoner 42, which was recently captured alongside Prisoner 43, have been transferred to level B4 for experimentation. This must be Naruto. Kaneko opened her link with Rias and told them the possible location of Naruto, and as soon as she was done, she continued to go through the computer file, finding anything about weapons that the SDF may be developing. One file finally caught her attention. She tried to open it but found that it was protected by a password. Before she could try to crack it, someone or something crashed through the wall and began to fight her. With Rias minutes before Kaneko was attacked. All of them used the duct that Kaneko used to enter the building, and following Kaneko's directions, they made their way towards the lift where they made their way to level B4. As they made their way down, all of them began to feel sleepy. This gas is everyone, hold your breath. Rias ordered, but it was too late as they slumped to the ground. Unknown amount of time later. All of them began to slowly wake up when they found themselves tied up with some kind of cuffs in the cage with them. They found the blonde girl that was taken with Naruto, Kaneko, with her clothes slightly torn, and by Kiba's side was his sword, but when he wanted to touch it, a shock ran through him. They tried to break them off, but it found that they just couldn't do it. Well, it seems that all of you are awake just in time for us to show you our latest experiment. I hope you don't mind the tight space, but the girl wanted to see her friend so much, so we decided let's all meet him together. Also, those cuffs around your hands have been made from palladium, so don't try to use any of your magic, and before I forget, you may call me Captain Lee. Looking up, the entire group saw the light glinting off of the glasses that the man wore. Soldiers came by the cage and using a forklift, they moved it further into the room, where they saw Naruto heavily weakened from something. His eyes were half-lidded and he was sweating heavily. Naruto. Hearing the voice, Naruto looked in the direction of them and saw Rainer and everyone else. He shakingly raised his arm and touched the glass that he was in. Rainer help. Lee went over to one of the men standing by the consoles in the room. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you humanity's greatest defender. All around the room lights were turned on and they pointed at something in the room. When their eyes managed to adjust to the brightness, they saw that the figure in the middle of the room was in fact a human-sized statue that had a diamond-shaped object on its chest with some kind of markings as well. That's all those in the cage looked at the figure in shock. Yes, this will be humanity's greatest defender. Lee pressed a button to reveal the armored figures from before. For so long our experiments have failed due to the imperfect monsters we captured, but now we have the perfect catalyst to bring Subject 09 to life. So the monsters that you captured were turned into those things. Rias spat out. Yes, they were supposed to be humanity's perfect protector, but those monsters did not have what it took to fully bring the statue to life, but nonetheless we now have this boy, and the energy that he has is the perfect match, so begin the transfer. The scientist pressed a button on the console he was working on, and it activated the machine that Naruto was in, which began to transfer energy from him to the statue. Arg. HHH. Screamed Naruto as he squirmed about in the space that the machine allowed. Naruto. Stop it, you're going to kill him. Rainer screamed as she crashed her shoulder against the cage, but the bars just wouldn't budge. Akeno looked on with horror as Naruto's scream chilled her blood. Rias and everyone else looked on with concern as Naruto screamed. Finally the statue began to glow, and in a single flash of light, it blinded all of them. When the light faded, they saw that the statue now had gray skin, red lines running down its body, and it had bronze cuffs on its ankle and wrists. Rise Terranoid. The statue's eyes lit up and the object on its chest turned green when it was done. Terranoid raised its right hand straight up, while its left hand was bent at an angle pointed upwards. Rah! It cried out in a deep voice. Alright then, let's try out Terranoid's abilities, and it just so happens we have a batch of volunteers right here. Lee waved his hand. The soldiers and scientists retreated out of the room, leaving Rias, her peerage and Asia in the room with the Terranoid and its companions. The cuffs around the devil's wrists were released and the cage collapsed. The Terranoid took up a battle stance before bringing its arms into an L shape and fired off a beam at them. Thankfully Akeno managed to bring up a shield to protect them. Unfortunately for them, the beam was too strong and shattered the barrier. As for the armored figures, they took a battle stance and charged past the Terranoid to engage them. Hold them off while we get Naruto. They nodded as they each took one armored figure, while Rias prepared to engage the Terranoid with the help of the blonde girl. With Kiba. He managed to pick up his sword after the shock effect on it was disabled and charged at the armored figure. The figure swung its arm at Kiba, so he went under it and successfully managed to dodge its punch. Using his sword, Kiba tried to strike at the figure's chest, but the armor on the chest was too strong and stopped the blade's stab. Deciding to try another move, Kiba brought his sword about and aimed instead for the creature's leg, which got the result that Kiba expected. The armored figure fell to one knee and groaned. Now I know your weakness. Disappearing in a burst of speed that the creature just could not comprehend, Kiba appeared behind the armored figure sheathing his blade. The wrists and ankles of the creatures sprayed out what Kiba suspected was the creature's blood before it collapsed to the ground dead. But before he could go to help Naruto, a fist shot out and connected with his face, sending him stumbling back. Another figure now faced him. Looks like there is more of you. But Kaneko. I will have my revenge. Kaneko brought up her fists and charged at the armored figure. As for the figure, it brought up its arms and blocked her punch, but the force of the punch did push the figure back a little bit. Now it was its turn to retaliate by sending a punch at Kaneko. Kaneko managed to successfully catch the punch, and using her full strength, she brought the creature up into the air, where it flailed about before she threw it to the side, landing in a crash that created a crater. The figure slowly stood up before it charged at Kaneko once more. Not learning from its previous lesson, Kaneko did the same thing once again and slammed the creature into the ground once more before she sat on the creature and slammed her fists down onto it. Slowly, bit by bit, the armor began to crack, and with a final punch it broke through the armor and Kaneko's fist destroyed the color timer on it. As she drew her fist out, another figure stepped up to replace the fallen one. Kaneko just cracked her fists and readied herself. With Akeno. She had an angry look on her face as she faced the creature in front of her. I will destroy you for hurting Naruto-kun. Lightning crackled in her hands as she brought it down onto the figure. The armored figure took the lightning while walking forward, but before it could reach Akeno, it tumbled to the ground dead. But before she could go help Naruto, another figure stepped out to face her. None of you will stand in my way. Akeno cried out as she sadistically released lighting onto the figures blocking her path. But Rias, Rainer and Asia. They had stepped up to face the Terranoid. Rainer, take the girl and help Naruto, this is mine. Rainer nodded as Rias charged up a spell and shot it at the Terranoid, who did a fist-shaped beam attack that was weaker than the previous beam blast, so Rias' spell won and connected with the Terranoid's shoulder, who grunted in pain and backed up a bit. Using this as a distraction, Rainer and Asia ran past the Terranoid, who steadied itself and walked towards Rias, sensing that her power was the greatest and therefore the greatest threat. When Rainer and Asia reached the pod holding Naruto, they found that it was still locked, so Rainer decided to go over to the console that the scientist was working at and looked among the buttons. She couldn't find the button to release the locks, so she made a light spear and destroyed the console, disengaging the locks on the pod. As the pod hissed open, Naruto stumbled out straight into Asia's arms, where she began to heal him, but found that there were no wounds on his person. This means that they drained Naruto's essence. How could they? They are monsters. Naruto. Are you alright? Please answer me. Rainer asked, her voice laced with concern. Naruto's eyes opened a little bit, and upon seeing both Asia and Rainer standing over him, he weakly nodded as he tried to stand up but fell to the ground again. But you, everyone needs help, he weakly mumbled and tried to stand up one more, but Rainer and Asia held him down. Please Naruto, don't move, I can heal you, and besides, you can't think to fight anything in your current condition, right? Asia begged, tears running down her face. She finally had a friend and she wasn't about to lose him. No Naruto, if you do this then you're going to end up killing yourself. I don't want to lose you, you swore that you would never let go of me. Naruto used his hand to wipe Rainer's tears away, while Asia wiped her own tears away before Naruto could see them. Don't worry Rainer, Asia, I won't leave either of you, I promise. Naruto moved to open his jacket, he brought out the evil thruster and got both Asia and Rainer to help him to stand up just as they heard Akeno cry out. Please Nexus, help me, give me the strength I need to fight. To help those that are close to me. Pulling the evil thruster from its sheath, Naruto pointed it in the air. Yeah. In a flash of bright light, Nexus appeared, though this time he was colored light gray, silver, and had some black lines running along his body. Back with Rias minutes before. She had successfully beaten the Terranoid as its color timer began to blink and it laid on the ground, desperately trying to get up. All around them were craters that were formed from either Terranoid's missed beam blasts or the weaker shots from Rias that it managed to deflect. Now you shall suffer the fate for harming my precious servant. She brought her hand up to cast the final spell, but all around them from the destroyed statues of the armored figure, dark energy began to rise forth from their destroyed bodies. Akeno, Kiba and Kaneko stopped for a moment to look at them. It's a cluster of the darkness from the souls that the SDF implanted within these bodies. You humans. Dabbling in the unknown arts and implanting our essences, our very souls within these bodies. Now you shall know true fear as we take your greatest defender and turn him into our avatar. The souls flew towards the body of the kneeling Terranoid and entered its color timer. The Terranoid cried out in pain as the souls entered its body. When all the souls entered, the Terranoid's body shot up and began to twitch. No. Lee yelled as he slammed his hand against the consoles in the observation room. Back with Rias. Akeno, Kaneko and Kiba gathered next to Rias, winded from their fights against the armored figures, and watched as the Terranoid began to slowly transform into some grotesque creature that had rocky skin and 6 things on its back. Ha! The transformed Terranoid, Zelganoid, cried out in a twisted voice as he looked into the air and fired a beam from its forehead that went straight through the building before it took a fighting stance facing Rias and her peerage. In the observation room. While at the same time Captain Lee and the SDF personnel watched as the Terranoid was taken over. Our plan has been ruined. Call for a full evacuation, get everyone out of here now. I want a level 5 guard on those containers, they cannot be harmed. We still have one last card to play, and since Terranoid's revival was a success, Subject 10 will most definitely succeed as well. Send those containers to our secondary location until we can come back here and ensure the safety of the facility. The soldiers nodded as they began to pass the order through the comm system. Back with Rias. Be careful everyone, this creature seems different now, it seems far stronger than before. They nodded as they charged at the Zelganoid. Kiba drew his sword and tried to strike the Zelganoid on the ankle, but the Zelganoid saw it coming and kicked Kiba in the face, sent him to the ground. The Zelganoid twisted its foot on Kiba's body before bringing it down once more, making a crater around Kiba and making him cry out in pain, and continued its path towards Rias. Kaneko came forward and threw a punch at the Zelganoid, but the Zelganoid was much faster than her and blocked her punch. Kaneko was surprised by the speed of the creature, since the armored figures were not this fast or strong. Rarg. Zelganoid brought its foot up and kicked Kaneko in the side, sending her skidding a little to the side right into the hands of Zelganoid. It wrapped its hands around her head and slammed her into the ground behind of it. Kaneko tried to pick herself up again, but Zelganoid's strength was just too much and she couldn't move. Ha! Zelganoid charged energy into its fist and brought it down on Kaneko's back. Ah! Kaneko cried out, her voice laced with pain. When Zelganoid's fist left her body, they could see that she had a burn the size of Zelganoid's fist on her back. The Zelganoid gave a creepy smile, its head tilted at an angle as Akeno stepped up to face it. "You will not get near Butchu." Akeno shot lightning at it, but the Zelganoid countered with its L-shaped beam blast that destroyed Akeno's lightning in mid-flight and headed straight for Akeno. She raised her hand to block it, but the beam never hit as Nexus appeared next to her and pulled her out of the way. "Back, Akeno, are you alright?" Nexus asked, pain and fatigue evident in his voice. Akeno nodded as Nexus stood up, faced Zelganoid and took a stance. Zelganoid smiled once again as it took a stance and made its way towards Naruto, who just blocked its punch, but before Nexus could counter the attack, Zelganoid gave a kick that sent Nexus stumbling backwards. Before Naruto could recover from the kick, Zelganoid came up to him, picked him up and threw him back to the ground where he landed with crash. Zelganoid gave a twisted laugh and stomped on Nexus. As it did so, Nexus cried out in pain. "Naruto." Akeno and Rias cried out as they threw spells in the direction of Zelganoid. Akeno's spell barely caused Zelganoid to flinch, whereas Rias' spell managed to get Zelganoid's attention on her. Turning its head, Zelganoid cried out before it fired its beam weapon at Rias. She put up her strongest barrier, where it was stopped for a brief moment before Zelganoid pushed itself forward, powering the beam up and breaking the barrier. Ria's eyes widened when she saw that the powered-up beam broke through her barrier and braced herself for the pain, but the beam never hit. When she opened her eyes, Rias saw Nexus using his body to block the shot. "Naruto. Hey, are you alright?" She could hear Nexus's color timer blinking, meaning that he was near his end. Don't worry, Butchu, I'm fine." Nexus stumbled a little before he fell to his knees. "Naruto." Rainer yelled as she made a light spear and threw it at Zelganoid's back, but it dissipated when it struck its back. Apparently Zelganoid had some kind of shield protecting its back. Zelganoid turned to face both Rainer and Asia. Nexus heard Rainer call out, so he shakingly came up to his feet and charged at Zelganoid, his intent to tackle it to the ground. He succeeded, and the Zelganoid was moved back a little bit. "Arg!" screeched Zelganoid. It steadied itself by planting its feet firmly on the ground. Zelganoid knew that it was in the better position to fight, so it brought its elbow down on Naruto and just went to town on his back. Twice it took Zelganoid 3 times to bring Nexus to the ground. Once there, Zelganoid gripped Nexus's body, picked him into the air so that he was flailing, and he slammed Nexus's body to the ground hard, creating a spiderweb crack and throwing some of the rubble onto Nexus's body. "Ah!" gasped Nexus as he shifted his body in a desperate attempt to pick himself up, making the debris on his body drop to the ground. Rias and her peerage tried to attack Zelganoid, but Zelganoid wasn't having any of it, so it formed some kind of barrier that stood between them and him. It came over to Nexus, picked him up and began to tighten its hold around Nexus's neck. Everyone else tried to break through the barrier, but it just wouldn't break, and Rias couldn't not risk using her full power, as the building may collapse in on itself if the spell failed, or she could end up destroying Naruto as well. I can't beat him." Nexus's hands wrapped around Zelganoid's forearm trying to pry them apart, but Zelganoid's own strength overpowered Nexus's strength. "Naruto, don't give up, please. You promised that you won't." Cheered Rainer and Asia, with everyone else adding in their own support. "Come on, Naruto-kun, don't give up." Cheered Akeno. "I haven't told you how much I cared yet." "You can do it, Naruto." Play Nexus's opening IU. "Yes, everyone is cheering me on. I can do it." Nexus's grip on Zelganoid's forearm increased. "Yes, I believe I can win. I want to see Asia, Rainer and everyone smile again. So I won't give up, I'll keep on fighting because that is my oath as Naruto Uzumaki." Declared Naruto. His whole body began to glow with light, or rather it was faint blue light. When the light finally faded, they saw that Nexus was now colored blue, black and silver. Gripping Zelganoid's forearm, Nexus easily pried Zelganoid's hands off of his neck and twisted it, making Zelganoid cry out its voice in pain. "Ha!" Nexus delivered a kick to the abdomen of Zelganoid, making the creature grunt in pain. Knowing that it was hurt, Nexus continued with 3 more kicks, and on the 3rd kick it let go of Zelganoid's hand. The force of the final kick sent it flying to the other side of the room, crashing into the wall, leaving a Zelganoid-shaped crater in the wall. When Zelganoid dropped to the ground, it screeched in anger before throwing forth beam attacks. Nexus charged at Zelganoid and jumped over the first one before going right through the middle of the second and third blasts, landing with a roll. As he continued his charge, when he reached Zelganoid, he punched it once before proceeding to grab Zelganoid by the neck and threw him to the other side of the room. Zelganoid landed with a cloud of dust but managed to stand up once again. "Arg!" it cried out as it lifted both of its arms and flew into the air. "That monster can fly," Nexus gasped. "You can't. All you have to do is imagine it, the sensation of lifting off of the ground, and then you can do it." A voice replied. Following its instructions, Nexus began to slowly lift it off the ground, and before he knew it, he was actually flying. Meanwhile Zelganoid brought both of its arms and began to make a sphere of concentrated energy aimed at Rias and her group. "I won't let you do anything to them," Nexus cried out. Nexus flew up and punched the sphere, destroying it and injuring Zelganoid in the process. Zelganoid was sent crashing to the ground, parts of its skin was now cracked, while Nexus managed to land it on the ground upright, though he did skid back a little. This was when Zelganoid talked in a raspy, distorted voice. "How could you have gotten stronger? Your strength should have been completely sapped by me. I am better than you. You may have been better than me a while ago, but that doesn't mean that you'll always be the best. I've got friends behind me and I'll do whatever I can to protect them. Because they've given me the strength to fight." Nexus flew into the air, followed by Zelganoid as they began to fight in mid-air while they continued to climb to the top of the building. Punch after punch, kick after kick, both Zelganoid and Nexus were evenly matched. Zelganoid threw a punch and Nexus blocked it with his forearm before backing off and kicking Zelganoid, sending the creature crashing into a bunch of desks that were laid out on the upper levels. Grah. Zelganoid released a flurry of beam attacks, all aimed at Nexus. Seeing them coming towards him, Nexus headed towards the ground and deflected as many as he could before giving one kick that deflected a beam right back at Zelganoid, who screeched with pain before landing on the ground, even more damage than before. "Now it's time to finish this," the voice cried out. "But how?" asked Naruto as Zelganoid struggled to get itself up. Its color timer began to blink. "Follow my instructions carefully." Nexus did as instructed. He brought his left arm down, then he crossed his right arm over it, making energy form on his bracer forearm. Once completed, he brought his hands up and allowed the energy to build within his bracers, before finally raising them up and bringing them into an L shape. From Nexus's arms a white-colored beam appeared and struck Zelganoid straight in the chest. Stunning the creature as the beam continued to enter its body, Zelganoid took a few steps forward, and when the beam was fully fired, Zelganoid groaned once before falling backwards, exploding into a shower of rocky pieces. "This is the over-ray storm, my strongest attack. Use it well, my host. We shall talk more when you are well rested." "Thank you," thought Nexus before he fell forward and fainted, turning back to Naruto in the process. End song. Unknown amount of time later. Naruto woke up an unknown amount of time later to find himself staring into the familiar ceiling of his room, a cloth on his head and his blanket over his body. The last thing I remember was being in the building. Wait, where is? He shot out of the bed, awakening the person lying by his bedside. "Oh Naruto, don't move, you're still tired from the fight with that monster." Naruto looked over to see Rainer staring into his eyes, but before they could do anything, Rainer came over and tightly hugged Naruto. I'm so glad that you're alright, Naruto." Naruto returned the hug and comforted Rainer as tears fell down onto his shoulder. "Don't worry Rainer, I kept my promise, but where is everyone else?" Rainer wiped her tears away before she replied, "Oh yeah, but you pulled some strings with your parents, and now both Asia and I are staying with you." Naruto nodded his head for a bit before he realized what she said. Wait, what? However, before he could say anything else on the matter, a thud was heard outside of his room, so both of them opened the door to see Asia on the ground, a chair a few inches away from her, and she was rubbing her butt in pain. "Oh, why do these things always happen to me?" Naruto could only sigh as he moved to help Asia lift the chair. "No Naruto, you just woke up, you shouldn't be doing work like this." But Naruto simply waved it off. "Don't worry about it Asia, besides I think that I've been asleep long enough." "Thank you Naruto, my room is right around the corner," Asia happily replied. Naruto nodded as he brought the chair to her room, leaving Rainer and Asia in the hallway. Their eyes connected for a moment, and as they stared each other down, lightning soon appeared to be clashing between the two. "Asia, you shouldn't have done that. Naruto is still recovering from his fight against that monster, and if he overworks himself then he may get more injured," Rainer stated, a little sweetness in her voice. "Don't worry, if Naruto gets injured again then I will be there to heal him, and he himself said that he didn't mind helping me," Asia happily countered as her devil wings appeared and began flapping, lifting her a little off the ground, but Rainer managed to pull her down before she hit her head on the ceiling. See, after the fight against the Zelganoid, Asia wanted to become a devil to be with her friend, so Rias reluctantly made her a bishop, and since she and Rainer had no place to stay, unless they counted the school clubhouse, which would be weird to have the regular students see them living there, since they were already that close to Naruto. Rias decided that the second best place for them to live would be at Naruto's house, without his input on the situation though. Thankfully his parents believed their story that Naruto disappeared for a few days because he had gone on a trip to introduce two new transfer students, Asia and Rainer, to the area and had to stay close to both of them so that they didn't get lost, and now the school decided that Asia and Rainer should stay at his house because they were such good friends. But too bad for Naruto, they were still going to punish him for calling to tell them that they were having guests over, even if he was dead tired from getting dragged around the city. The bell rang so the two of them raced downstairs to open the door to reveal Akeno, and in her hand was a lunchbox simply wrapped in a cloth handkerchief. "Hi, is Naruto-kun awake yet? If not then I'll just leave this here for when he wakes up." "He's not awake yet." The both of them replied. "Asia, Rainer who is at the door?" Naruto hollered from the top of the stairs. Both Asia and Rainer chuckled nervously. "Oh, would you look at that, Naruto is awake now. Then I'm sure you won't mind if I come in to give Naruto his lunch." Akeno walked past the two girls to see Naruto standing at the staircase. "Hey Naruto-kun, I brought you some food to help with your recovery." Akeno called out to Naruto. As for Asia and Rainer, they stared each other down and mentally communicated their complaints. "Why did you have to say that now? Akeno will know that we were lying to keep her away from Naruto." Naruto walked down the steps to see that Akeno had already set up the lunchbox in the living room, revealing the rice, soup, fish, grilled meat, and preserved vegetables. "Oh hey Akeno, thanks for dropping by to check up on me, and wow, that looks really good." Akeno beamed with happiness at the compliment. "Oh thank you Naruto-kun, I made it for you, so I put some extra care and attention into it, now come and have it before it goes cold." Naruto happily took his place next to, but before he could pick up the chopsticks, Akeno snatched them from him and decided to feed him. "Now say ah." She cooed, a piece of fish in between the chopsticks. Naruto blushed a little bit at her antics that caused both Asia and Rainer to rush to the kitchen where the sound of plates clattering and snatching of ingredients could be heard. "Akeno, I can feed myself." "Don't be silly Naruto-kun, you're a recovering man, now let Nurse Akeno feed you, or do I need to wear a nurse uniform to get you to eat?" She mused, seeing that it was a losing battle. Naruto relented and let her feed him. After taking a few more bites, both Rainer and Asia appeared in the living room with sandwiches. "Here Naruto-kun, have some." Since both of them said the same thing, they turned to each other, lightning flashing between their eyes. Thank you." Both Asia and Rainer picked up a sandwich and tried to feed Naruto, but Naruto took the sandwiches from their hands and first took a bit out of Asia's. It was surprisingly alright for a sandwich made in about 5 minutes, with who knows what. Then came Rainer's sandwich. For some reason, Naruto just couldn't shake the feeling of dread as he picked up the sandwich, but not to hurt Rainer's feelings he decided to take a bite. "Well, here goes." Naruto took a bite of it and soon. "Whoa, since when were there two Asias?" All three of them looked at Naruto weirdly as he stood up and wobbly walked a few steps to the kitchen, then fell down before he even made it there. "Naruto." All three girls ran up to him to see that his eyes were swirling and he was babbling on about flying saucers and how they were going to probe his anus. "Rainer, just what did you put in the sandwich?" Asia asked as they moved Naruto over to the sofa and placed him down gently, placed a towel over his head and covered his body with a blanket. Rainer used her fingers to count the number of things that she put into it, and by the end of her counting spree, she was banned from stepping into the kitchen. Her sandwiches were also safely disposed in the nearest hazardous material bin. In an unknown location. Commander Ikari, Captain Lee's superior and the guy he was talking to on the phone, was facing a panel of men wearing uniforms that had the patch of the GSDF, Global Supernatural Defense Force, and from the looks of things these gentlemen were not happy. "Commander Ikari, what does the JSDF, Japanese Supernatural Defense Force, have to say for itself? Not only did your subordinate lose the failed experiments, but you even lost one of the precious statues that we created based on the final subject that you still hold at your facility, we might add." Commander Ikari looked down in shame. "I am sorry for the incompetence of my subordinate council members, but even though the Terranoid was taken over by supernatural forces, this still proves that the experiment was a success, and even as we are speaking, my men are ensuring that the utmost care is taken to awaken the final statue. You had better hope so for your sake, Commander Ikari. But still, we must commend your efforts in acquiring the energy needed to run the final contingency. These efforts will be forever remembered when humanity can finally rest easy from all these supernatural elements." "Thank you for the compliment, Councilman." However, before the conversation could continue, a GSDF soldier walked in and passed a phone over to Commander Ikari. "It's for you, sir." Commander Ikari nervously took the phone and listened to whoever was on the other line. "Yes, Commander Ikari speaking. Captain Lee, what is the meaning of this? I am in an important meeting with High Command." "What do you mean there was an accident with the awakening process? It disappeared?" As the conversation continued, Commander Ikari's face drained of its color, and when he hung up his entire face was white. "Now then, Commander Ikari, would you like to explain this little incident that we heard about, or do we need to tell you what it was?" The voice from the center of the room roared. Commander Ikari could only stammer, desperately trying to find a logical excuse to use, but his mind was not working at the moment. "It appears that the JSDF is not as competent as we thought in dealing with these supernatural forces. Expect some new arrivals within the week, Commander Ikari. You would be relieved of your duty, but your accomplishments have deemed you necessary to us, so we shall allow you to continue with your command." "Thank you for your kindness, Councilman. But know this, you are on a very thin line at the moment, do not fail us again." The councilmen turned to leave the room, leaving Commander Ikari alone contemplating their words.